Good evening, everyone. This is Roderick Martin, and I'm the host of the podcast Extraterrestrial Evidence. And on this particular episode today, we're going to tap you into one of our Clubhouse conversations that we had with the retired Defense Intelligence Officer that shared an ET experience. And you do not want to miss all of this. Now, it's a rather long episode, about 3.5 hours, but I promise you, you will get a new perspective when it comes down to extraterrestrials. If you're not, get on Clubhouse if you have an iPhone app at this time and look for Extraterrestrial Evidence. Join the room, follow me so I can make you a member, and you will get a lot of exciting conversations that I think is just phenomenal. So as I close out right now and share it with you, you're going to hear her pen name is Anjali, and she's actually now a new friend of mine, and we're going to help get this story out. But in the meantime, listen to it all. Then at the end, you're going to hear some objectivity from other people that, lends their view on what they heard tonight. So again, I'm excited. I'm Roderick Martin, and looking forward for you to enjoy what you're about to hear. Seconds here, I'll start the recording so you guys know that we're recording. So and it's always okay. As you guys know, there's been a lot of things happening this past week, especially with our guest that we have here tonight. And as the headline says, we have the retired Defense Intelligence Officer is going to share the ET experience. And it's just been a crazy week, and I've had an opportunity to really get to know her, just really on an intimate basis of just what's going on with this. And I tell you, it's just really exciting. But one of the things I would do in just a second is kind of give you guys the backstory, how this all came about. And I'll probably let Nick explain the backstory and then what he's been instrumental in why we have tonight is going on. So Nick, you want to go ahead and do that?
Yes, thanks, Roderick. Hi, my name is Nick Larkin. You can find my contact info in my profile. My full name is Gregory Nicholas Larkin. My dad is Gregory Nails, so I go by Nick. And I mentioned that because if you want to, I'm going to serve as the person who verifies the identity of our experiencer who's going to speak tonight. And I think you'll understand why here in a moment. So if you want to look me up, that's great. I'm on LinkedIn under Nick Larkin. That's what I go by instead of Gregory Nicholas Larkin. And also you can, if you just Google Indiana State Employee Lookup, there is a web app where you can just type in my name and it'll show that I'm exactly who I say I am. So real quick background on me. When I was a child, I witnessed something really unexplainable, about the size of a football, gunmetal, in color, approached myself and my mother in our backyard. And I thought at the time that it was like a dull-colored mylar balloon, and convinced myself that this thing was zipping around because there must have been perforations on different sides of it or something. And I thought that for years until I got older. So fast forward to 2004, September, I was a midshipman at the U.S. Naval Academy, which is like West Point, except for the Navy. So I was a student there, and I was out working out one night, running down the seawall that borders the Severn River, when a classic black triangle UFO came zipping down the Severn River about 100 meters away from me and then took off at extraordinary speed into the sky above the Chesapeake Bay. So since that time, I've thought more deeply about it and then thought more about that event that happened as a child. And I became very interested in the topic. When I graduated from the Naval Academy, because I've been studying, my graduating class was the first class to have a pilot program for Arabic language, which I was a part of due to my aptitude for learning languages quickly. And because of that, they switched me over to the Army as an intelligence officer. When I graduated, we were in Iraq at the time, and that's how I found myself to be an intelligence officer. So I was an intelligence officer until I got out in 2014, became a civilian. So since then, I've been working with data. I now work for the state of Indiana, doing similar work to what I was doing in the intelligence community in the military, in that I work with data. But I've still been obsessed with the topic that we're all discussing here today. The reason being, not that it's fantastical, but because it seems to me what the obvious truth is, and it blows my mind that the rest of the world does not seem to. I think it goes without speaking. A universe that's 3.5 billion years old, and within the last 50 years, we've gone from a computer the size of a warehouse to the size of a cell phone. So yeah, technology can advance really quickly, and even the fundamental understanding of how the universe works has changed rapidly in the last 100 years. So why couldn't this phenomena be real? And I want to get that across to the masses. That's why I had an interest in this. Now, just recently, I heard on the Tim Dillon podcast, they were talking about Clubhouse. So I scored myself an invite and got on here, and we're speaking to the same group of people every Tuesday, Thursday night at 9:30. It's Roderick's room that we're in right now. After like the first couple of talks, I was, as I do like all the time, I was lurking around on the alien and UFO related subreddits on Reddit. And I read this fantastical account, which come to find out was written by our experiencer, Anjali, who will be speaking to you here momentarily. I read it, and it really struck true to me. For one thing, she claimed to be a retired defense intelligence officer. Well, I share that background. The story was so amazing, it couldn't be true, is what I thought. And most of the audience on Reddit, partly due to the culture on Reddit, but they really raked her over the coals. Like everybody was just giving her a really hard time. She was taking her time to give perfectly rational answers to almost everybody. She must have been doing that for days. Like just given the number of responses, very calm, cool, collected responses that she was giving. So obviously, at least not a loon, according to everything that I was reading, very well put together thoughts. So I contacted her personally through a direct message on Reddit, and I asked her if she'd be interested in speaking to our club here. I shared with her my background, and she shared with me hers. And eventually we got to a point where she doesn't want to go public yet, and that's very understandable. If you look at the reaction that she got on Reddit, you would understand like that's got to be very taxing on a person to be attacked really for the story that you're telling. And secondly, this doesn't appear to be any kind of career move or something. She's retired, she's got a pension, she doesn't want to be a public person, so it's not for fame. And I spoke to her at length over the phone. She sent me a copy of her passport and her DD-214, which is a standard form that you get when you leave active duty military service. I sent her mine as well, so she knew who I was, and then we exchanged LinkedIn accounts, and we were able to sniff each other's butts like dogs do, and got to know that we were both exactly who we say we are. She went even further and provided me some contacts from her former chain of command, and since then I've spoken to multiple of her former hires in her chain of command from when she was in as a contracted intelligence officer, so civilian contractor. I confirmed that she has briefed to the Office of the President and the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Pentagon. That's all been confirmed by contacting her former chain of command. I also did some back-end stuff with some friends of mine that are still in the reserves in the intelligence community, and they also verified all this. So what I'm here to do is, you can look up who I am, okay? I don't care if I'm a public person. I mean, I am a public servant. So it doesn't bother me at all. I am not a spook, all right? I am not a CIA guy. I thought it was kind of funny the other night when we were talking about this topic in a different room with Tom Green, the comedian, and Dave Foley, the comedian. Tom Green jokingly suggested that I was some kind of CIA plant, just because the reason you have two former intelligence officers speaking to you right now, myself and Anjali, the experiencer, is that it was our shared experience that established a rapport between she and I, and that trust. She trusted me to keep her identity confidential, and I even signed a confidentiality agreement with her. So you're not getting anything out of me if you want to know who she is or anything, and I appreciate that trust. Let's see here. You can go to, I already told you how to look me up. I'll just ask that you please not try to affect my employment. I've got no dog in the fight, really, other than a genuine interest in this topic. And I'm compelled to try to get this message out there, largely because it just boggles my mind that in the world post Commander Fravor, I don't understand why everybody isn't asking the same questions and sharing the same assumptions that I share, and most of us in this room share. I'm sure I'm missing some important things, but with that, I'm going to pass the ball.
All right, thank you. And guys, that was just Nick. Nick, again, I just want to thank you for your input and putting all this together as we are just moving into some areas I think that's really important, and people should do that. And what I'm going to do, guys, real quickly is just introduce some of the people in the audience, not the audience, but over here on our screen, and they're going to all kind of ask some questions in the end. I'm going to bring our guest up in just a second. I have questions that I want to talk with her about. You guys get to listen in on that, and then ultimately she's going to share her story too, completely, and we'll just kind of go from there. But from left to right up there, guys, just let you know we have Chrissy, and Chrissy is a phenomenal lady, guys. If you've been in some of the rooms and just really heard her talk, she's a publicist, she's a podcaster, she has her own show, she's a PR manager, all those great things. And actually, she can kind of explain herself. And I'll just let Christy, if you in 20 seconds, just tell a little bit of the audience about you.
Hey, Roderick. Hi, everybody. Thanks for that nice intro. It was really sweet. I'm a publicist for the past 11 years. I work in entertainment, lifestyle, and business across North America. Sorry, that's my dogs. I also have a podcast I call it Alt Pop Repeat. That's on Dash Radio in the States that airs every Friday and Saturday. And then I also contribute, that's more aligned to this, to the Debrief, who broke the first, this year's, or earlier this year? Yes, the cockpit photo that just came out. And so I work closely with the Debrief. I'm a tech host with them, and work with the rest of the team there. So my fascination with UFOs started when I was about 6 years old from my father, something that I've always been involved in, from behind the scenes, and now talking a little bit more forward with them. But really, a passion of mine as well.
Oh,
thanks.
All right, great. And because you already heard from Nick, next up then will be Marie. Marie is a great friend of mine as well. I met her here on Clubhouse, and she just has a great story. So Marie, if you can quickly tell our audience a little bit about you as well.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Roderick. Yes, hi, I'm Marie. I'm a parapsychologist based out of the Midwest. I study paranormal phenomenon, and I've actually conducted hundreds of field investigations. I'm actually into investigations into private residences for local citizens, and it is really been phenomenal. It's really been in a very interesting journey that I've been on, primarily because I've actually been exposed to and experienced paranormal phenomena and happenings as a child, which provoked me to actually start it in my own life and my own journey. So definitely glad to be on stage, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing some of the speakers as well as the wonderful guests that we have on here talk about their experiences and ask some questions.
All right, thank you. And then bottom there we have Alan Stanfeld, which is a friend of mine as well. Everybody's my friend. We just build relationships here, guys. This is what's happening. But Alan has a new book out, guys, called Making Contact and Preparing for the new extraterrestrial experiences that we're going to have. And I probably just butchered the title of that book, right? But anyway, Alan, go ahead and just tell a little bit about you, and then we'll get ready to get some things rolling here.
It's great to be here with you. It's like, Roderick, you've become my best friend in 2 weeks on Clubhouse here. In 1987, I had an experience, an abduction experience. I think it was that, meeting these beings or just losing time. And ever since then, I've been sucked down the rabbit hole, wanting to know every single thing about this phenomenon. I've been to all the conferences, and I met all the leading people I feel are the experts. And I put together this book, which is a lot of essays from a lot of people that I think are the top of the field. So from then to now, it was a certain point in history. I think tonight is another moment in history where another level of this whole phenomena is about to be revealed. And I'm glad we're all here because it's very exciting. Thanks, Rob.
Amen. Yeah, I don't mean to cut off the interruptions here or cut off the speakers that are introducing themselves, but you have to, when you hear this and when you fully understand her background, and if you accept the fact that I have confirmed exactly who she is, you will understand that this is on par with Bob Lazar. This is huge. And you're a part of, if you're listening right now, you're a part of a very small group of people who are hearing this directly from the experiencer. It's earth-shattering. So please brace yourselves.
I think it's better than Bob Lazar if you follow that, because this feels more real, more genuine, more positive, life-affirming, and hopeful. So we are in for a real treat and a real shift in reality. So thank you, everybody, for being here.
All right. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Guys, a little background. I am Roderick Martin. I am the founder of Extraterrestrial Evidence. I'm also a MUFON field investigator in the state of Texas. And if you don't know what MUFON stands for, it's the Mutual UFO Network. You definitely can go to their office or website if you want to get more information and everything else. And also, I have my co-person here, which is the admin as well, our new admin of Extraterrestrial Evidence, which is Tiffany. And I know I waited for the best for last because that's what I was doing. And at the same time, so Tiffany and I both are MUFON investigators. And so she will just kind of introduce herself, but she's the co-moderator here. So she'll be bringing people in and out in a little while. So once we get things started. But once again, follow all of the speakers here. Everybody. The currency here on Clubhouse is just follows, and if you can just really, show the love and follow these speakers here, and that's just one of the things we can do. So let's move on to you, Tiffany, and then we're going to get started.
Well, I'm really excited to hear the speaker, so I'll be extremely brief. As Roderick said, I am a MUFON field investigator, newly so, and just admin and helping moderate these meetings. So let's get to it.
All right, guys, she just really was being subtle. She is a big part. We speak and we got some schedules coming up, some stuff you guys do not want to miss. So let's get ready to rumble. Now, without saying, and rumble is not the word, I just wouldn't do that from, Michael Buffer, if y'all already heard that. But anyway, I'm just really excited for who we have here tonight. And I'm going to let her just really go ahead and just introduce herself. And then she's going to tell her story. I have a plethora of questions that I'm going to start out, and probably it'll take a little while. You guys can listen. And I think, they just some great questions I kind of wrote down a little bit to kind of get down in this. And then we'll let our speakers, ask her a few questions as well. And then the audience is out there. Once everything is over, we will bring you guys up later to, just really what you like best of what's going on here. So without further ado, I'm just speechless because this is a monumental moment. So, Anjali, go ahead. Take it over.
Oh, Roderick, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I am Anjali, and I am very privileged and honored to be a guest speaker in your group tonight. Thank you. I have been just pleasantly surprised by all the support that I've already received from Nick and Roderick, and so thank you for having me here today. Everyone had such wonderful things to say about what they do. These days, I paint, I read, I spend time with my kitties, I meditate, and I get to spend a lot of time with my spouse, being in lockdown together. So that's pretty much my day on a day in and day out. But that's not what you're here to hear about. Right, Roderick?
Okay. Yeah. I can just feel the energy in the phone. It's like, we've already just been inundating them for the last, 20 minutes. So yes, they are here for you to talk. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, this will be the first time that I have ever told this story to anyone that I didn't know, orally, telling you about my experience. So please be patient with me as I look for the right words to express one of the most conceptually complex experiences that I think that I've ever had. To to just quickly go over my background that brought Nick and I together. My expertise is in information operations, information warfare, for Middle East, North Africa, Near East, South Asia, in the Office of Northern Gulf Affairs. I supported the Defense Reconstruction Support Office and the Defense Security Cooperation Agreement for both Iraq and Afghanistan during George W. Bush's War on Terror. I have some experience with the combatant commands, with Central Command, Strategic Command, PACOM. I've had the pleasure of being summoned by combatant commanders to their command so that I could brief them on the intel needs that they felt that they had at the time. Just really entrenched pretty deeply. And the only reason that any of that matters is because I think it speaks to the idea that I am not someone who is easily moved, easily stirred, quick to fantasy. I do have a background in writing, and I have written books. But I typically, my professional life, I have had to deal with some really hard, cold reality, and so that's just some of my background, my professional background. So moving forward, I moved to California to do some intelligence work for the U.S. Marine Corps. So I found myself in Southern California, and I'd been there for a few years. I had begun having difficulties with my body. This body of mine just was not cooperating. I had a plan, and I was really pushing hard for it, and my body put me down pretty hard, and I found myself in the hospital in ICU. And that's really where I feel like the biggest transformation in my life began. I had been in the ICU for several days. I had been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that attacks your spinal cord. And I was essentially lingering on the brink of dying. I was getting to this place within myself personally, like emotionally, as I'm looking up at my two adult children who are standing at my bedside. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, well, this is what this feels like. This isn't so bad. This is what slipping away is like. It's just being calm and being kind of tired and still and at peace. Which peace was not something I was used to ever feeling. And here I was on literally my deathbed experiencing peace, like some real peace for perhaps the first time in my life. And somewhere in that ordeal, I was lying in my bed, and an elderly woman walked into the room, and she stood at the window, like against the wall by the window. And she just stood there and stared at me. And I asked my nurse, I said, who is this woman? And she said, what woman are you talking about? And so I'm like, the woman who's standing there at the window. And she looked and she said, there's no one there. And my two kids are looking and nobody's seeing anything. And, so she's like, oh, honey, there's no one there. And I said, no, there is. And I realized, wow, this woman has died. And I said, she's dead. She's died. And she said, oh, honey, nobody has died. And all of the sudden, just, lights and bells and whistles are going off in ICU. And there's just this massive convergence outside of my room, because it turned out that the woman who was standing in my room was busy dying in the room next to mine. And she did not make it. She did indeed pass. And with all of the commotion that had gone on, I looked off to the door. My eyes were just following the nurse, and I looked off to the door. And when I looked back at the wall where she'd been standing, the woman was gone. And it was pretty profound. But I have to tell you that in the moment when it was happening, I didn't feel anything profound. I've had to really process this. In the moment when it was happening, I just felt very at peace, even with what had just happened. I had a young son who was not able to be there with me. He was in elementary school, and he and I would FaceTime with each other, even while I was in ICU. But that day, I didn't feel like FaceTiming. I was just really I was preparing myself, I think, to just go. And I can't explain why, but that woman began like a parade of people who came into my room who had passed on in the ICU while I was there. So I did recover. Obviously, I lived. I spent a couple of months in a rehabilitation hospital before I was released. And when I returned home, I was surprised to see that I was still seeing people who had passed. There was a young boy who was in my house. There was a woman who I thought was a Black woman because her voice was so rich and beautiful. And there was a man, like a really tall, thin man, who would come and walk through the house. We had the sounds of objects moving. Sometimes it sounded like it was the most bizarre thing. Like somebody had chains and they were like dragging it along the inside of the wall. And if you can imagine like just a really thick chain. And I don't know if you've ever seen the space that's in between, like two walls, like a walk space. Usually it's not very thick. But if you can just imagine a really heavy chain just clunking through there and just hitting against two walls and making all kinds of racket, that's what we were experiencing. And at the time, there were other contractors who were living in this house that I was in, because we had all been on a lease together, and they did eventually leave, and it was just my daughter and I. But at this time, we had other people who were there who were saying, "What in the heck is going on?" We're hearing like women talking, and we're hearing sounds all time, of day and night, and so it was quite a change for everyone. And at that time, I still spent a lot of time in bed. Unfortunately, I had a hospital bed in my room, and I spent the majority of my time there. And there was the woman, Gwen, who would come in and talk to me. Like she would say things to me in my ear, and sometimes I could understand like exactly what she was saying, and then other times it was as if she was talking through, as if I were listening through a cup against a wall. Very, if that makes sense. That was the sort of sound that it had. So this carries on for a bit of time in 2017. And nearing the end of the year, all of the other contractors have moved. They've actually deployed. They're in Afghanistan, and I'm holding down the fort with my daughter now. And we're in my room. I think Roderick, did I send you a sketch of the layout of the room my bedroom when I first had contact?
Yes, you did. And what I'm probably going to do so that everybody can see it, I will probably upload it to my profile picture. And when I get it done, you guys can do the PTR, just kind of scroll it down and you'll be able to see that. Yes. So I will do that shortly in a little bit.
Okay. It's now. I want to say to everyone, first of all, please forgive this sketch. I did it in about 2 minutes and sent it to Roderick today, just so that he could have something for reference tonight while we spoke. So I never intended it to be for public consumption, but hey, it is what it is.
You were an artist. Don't worry about it. You were an artist.
And I'm an honestly terrible sketcher. Okay, so my daughter and I were sitting in the bed watching Netflix, and we're facing the TV. It was across the room at the end of the bed, but against the other wall. So I'm facing the television. And there's a corner to the right, and while we're watching TV, I start getting like this sensation that somebody is talking to me. And I looked over at my daughter, and I said, "What?" And she said, "What?" And I said, "Were you talking to me?" And she said, No, I was just, watching whatever it was we were watching. And I said, "Oh, I thought you said something." And then and so we go back again, and then it just keeps becoming abundantly clearer that something is happening in my head, and it's making me feel a little off. And then it all came, like it just came in like a rush. There was suddenly in that corner, the right corner of the room next to where the TV is, it was as if you took that corner and you just replaced it with a being that was showing me them standing somewhere else that I have just no way of understanding where that could possibly be. When he first appeared, they were sort of lavender skinned, standing, perfectly still, a thin, wafy body, shoulders that were a little wider than what you typically hear about a gray, that they're very tiny framed. Well, these had shoulders that were just a little more substantial than that. But the arms and the legs were very thin, and the torso was thin, and everything that I saw was like this lavender color, and the head itself was was bulbous and elongated, from side to side. Okay, so I can't tell you what this being looks like from the side. I can only tell you that it appears that its head is longer than it is, wider front to back, but almost at the same time mushroom-esque, and definitely had facial features, larger eyes that were set back a little, it's so hard to explain. It's like the face was out a little bit from the bulbousness, but not protruding like our faces are. You know what I'm saying? Where we have this amazing profile, and we can almost identify ourselves from a profile. And the features here weren't so prominent that it was like looking at a human. Okay, but there were definitely humanoid aspects. There was a mouth. There were there's a nose area that's closer to the face and like thin nostrils. And the eyes were larger than any eyes that a human would ever have. And there weren't whites, and there weren't irises and pupils. It was dark and shiny, and the eyes protruded from the face enough that there was just a little bit of, oh, I wish you could see my hands. I keep doing these things and I'm gesticulating and none of you can see it, and it's so frustrating. The eyes were all of the eye stood out from the face like a little bit, like maybe a millimeter or two. And that's different because our eyes are inset. Okay. These eyes aren't inset. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And I've never tried to explain this to anyone before. So thank you for your patience while I try to do this. So, so this, I don't really know how to go from here. Basically, this being was first started off just by sending me like the feelings of calmness, maybe not necessarily peace, but just being calm and being still, and even like emotions of love isn't right. Love isn't right only because I think it's different than our human understanding of love. And so I don't really know how to explain to you the feeling that I felt. But I felt like that it was that they meant well. And simultaneously I wondered, am I losing my mind? Like I would vacillate between this is happening and I'm having this conversation and I'm like saying things aloud as I'm getting these images and all of this like metadata from them that I'll get to in a minute. But as all this was happening, I'm saying out loud to my daughter what is happening and explaining to her, like, this is what they're saying. And this is what I'm being shown now. And this is what's happening. And oh my gosh, I mean, you can't see, they're right over there in the corner. And, so I had moments of that filled in the space between the being sending me information and essentially like me receiving waves of, be calm, this is okay, there's nothing wrong here. I have to laugh because that's insane. Oh my God. Okay, so after the introductions and showing me where he's standing, which for everyone who would like some of those details, there was the being was standing in front of a window that was like an arch, and behind it I could see some kind of astronomical body. I don't know if it's a planet or a moon. I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you that it's the color of like orange cream soda popsicles. You know how they have that color orange and that color of the cream that's all swirled together. Yeah, that's what the color of this planet is that's in the background that they're showing me. It's literally like a swirl of cream and orange. It's amazing. And the being is standing in front of that window, and then when I'm looking at him, on to the left of him is a window, an elongated window that gave this sensation of like a corridor or a hall or something that he was standing near. Do you know what I'm saying? It gave that feeling of an elongated space, like a corridor or a hallway. And so that was where this being chose to be standing, or at least to show me, while we continued to have this first contact. He showed me, or we're going to get to that. They showed me like a network of other people that they were contacting. And I don't know it when I say they this time, I don't know if it's just that being was contacting, in communication with those people, or if, they were showing me that other beings like them were also in communication. I kind of got the feeling like this was their network, that like these are the people that I'm talking to. And this is the doozy. This is a real doozy. And I really maybe someone out there somewhere will know what this means. But so they showed me different people that I was connected to, and then they started appearing in the room. So one was a young boy. Remember I told you about the young boy that was in the house? He came in and stood near the area that leads to the bathroom, Roderick. That's where he was standing. He showed me the black woman that I had heard, and she was indeed black, and her name was Gwen, and she was standing where they showed me. She was in the room. She was like to the left of the television, over near where the child was, and she this is what I can't make sense of. She was standing in a different time, and what I mean by that is that she was dressed and standing in what I'm guessing was late 1950s, early 1960s at the latest. And she was standing under a tree on a patch of grass near a sidewalk by a car. There were other cars on the street behind her. I could see them, and that's where she was standing. And at that time, she appeared to be about maybe 30 years old. And then they showed me Fred. Fred looked like he had been just had a really tough life outside. Okay, it's very difficult for me to tell how old Fred is. He appears to me to be a farmer, and I would say if I had to guess his age, he is probably like in his 60s or 70s. Okay. And he's standing on the front porch of a very simple farmhouse. He's just standing in the door, and he's standing there looking at me. And so I got the feeling from what he was showing me and sending me that these people were part of that network. And I've been trying to understand that for 3 years. So he got to a point where he really started making it clear why he was there. And that was that he wanted to give me a message. And I probably need to go back and talk a little bit about how they communicated, because I think that's really it's really important. I mean, that's really what all of this is going to be about.
I was thinking that myself. Go ahead.
Yeah, listen, Roderick, I've never told this story like this, so feel free at any time if I'm like getting off course or I'm just not hitting the points that you would want me to hit on because you've heard a lot of this. Please feel free to chime in and get me back on track because I'm okay with that. I have no problem.
You're doing really well, Anjali. Keep going.
Thank you.
And as far as the photo, guys, I tried to load it, but it only just showed like a little circle of the room and not the entire room. So we have to find another way for you guys to kind of see it. But I did try it, and yeah, I just replaced my own photo, but I couldn't. I put it up, but all you can see was the bed. So.
All right. Yeah. You know what? I will think about trying to put together a little bit of a better sketch than what I gave you, Roderick, and see if maybe I can't throw it up on my Twitter tomorrow or something. I'll figure it out.
Okay. That'll be good.
Yeah. We can do that.
Oh,
Sure.
and Angelique, it just sounds, I just want to say that when all those people are sending in different time periods, it seems like those double exposed films that you can see sometimes where there's a frame and there's many different scenes in one. So that's the image that came to me. But continue. Yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
And to those of you rolling your eyes possibly about this sounding outlandish, I'd ask you, do you believe in superposition or quantum entanglement? These things that, sound absurd, but hey, there is truth there. I don't think that this sounds necessarily untrue at all. I would ask you to keep an open mind as we proceed.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Maria. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just concurring with Nick. I know what you're speaking on can sound, like you said, outlandish or unrealistic. But as soon as you're done, Anjali, I would definitely love to share with you my experiences as well that are so connected to what you're saying. And you are definitely not alone. And I can feel the emotional tug of war that you're having with actually coming out and saying and telling your experiences. But you're doing a wonderful job. And I know it's challenging for you, but you just keep going.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay.
Yeah, we are with you. You're doing great. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Okay. So let's talk about real quick about how this communication came along. Each time that I received what I'm going to call a set of information, it came to me like I would suddenly receive like a picture in my head. It was literally, and it was a full thing. I mean, full immersion into something else. And in that picture was like all of this data, like metadata. And as soon as I received the picture, I received all the information. Now, the problem with that is that, and this is, you're going to probably hear me say this a lot, is that message that they were communicating with me had to come through a very imperfect brain to be interpreted and put into words to speak out back to you. And I feel like the message itself is so very perfect, but the messenger is so very broken that I'm doing the best that I can. And so I'm sitting there, I'm getting this image in my head. It's got all this information. It downloads into my head. And then I'm trying to put that into words so that I can speak them back to someone. And that first person that ever heard any of it and all of the mania that I felt I was caught up in the moment was my daughter. Okay, so.
Can I just encourage the audience to hold with us? We get to something much more tangible here shortly, beyond her living room.
Absolutely. So essentially, that first message that he gave to me was that that humans need to evolve, that we are not evolving quickly enough, and that what is holding us back is our use of language, that the way in which we communicate with each other is so incredibly limited and beyond limited, corrupted by our own perceptions and our own just by stimuli around us. That there's so much impurity in the way that we communicate that it lends itself towards division and anger and misunderstanding and a sense of isolation and being alone and disconnected and without a source of really thank you. My spouse just said of humanity, and that we lack a lot of humanity in our human speech, and that it is something that is dividing us and keeping us from reaching this next stage of evolution. Okay. And so he said to stop using, he told me to stop using human language and to stop worrying about human affairs, like to stop, like almost like to stop meddling in human affairs, stop focusing on human things. And I thought, oh, what the heck am I supposed to, what? Like, I am human. How do I do this? So as quickly as the first contact began, where he just suddenly was there irritating me and then left, and then made himself known, just as quickly as all that happened, it was over. And it was just like that. It was like connection severed. And I have to tell you that I panicked. Guys, I panicked when the connection severed because it felt so good. And all of a sudden, I was filled with like this sense of like loneliness that I had never felt. It was something. I didn't even know how good it felt to be with this being and be communicating until it ended. And that was the first contact. I had two more.
Now, Anjali, if you have a quick second.
Yes.
So that everybody know, so far I got about 10 questions when you're done that I'm going to go over, and then I'll let the speakers have. But before I do that, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I'm sitting here going, tell us a little bit, I know you talked about the encounter here, but the coffee shop, the mountain, how do we get there to get here? Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we're gonna get there now. I'm sorry, but guys, it was super important.
And maybe I got ahead of you, so I don't know, but
yeah. Well, you got a little ahead of me, but that's okay, Roderick. Okay. So this happened to me 3 times. That I was contacted by this same being, and to the point where I started calling the being. And I began having conversations, with people that were very close to me about this contact that I was having with this being. Not incidentally, I have a feeling, I also, at the same time, I began having dreams of, like recurring dreams of a place that I would go when I would dream at night. And I started having this recurring dream where I was going there. And so I was talking about that all the time. Like, why am I having this recurring dream? Why am I always going to the same place at night? What am I trying to work out? I was trying to figure out my own psychology at that point. Each time that I had contact with the being, the message expanded. A lot of it was repeated from the first time, this with the second contact, and we'll get more into the message later. And he did expand more on the second, and then on the third visit took place in my backyard at night. I was sitting at the fire pit with my daughter, having dinner, and we. That particular night, she was actually contacted as well. It was her first contact, and it was pretty remarkable. So all three of these contacts happened in December and January, December 2017, January of 2018. So in February of 2018, it was a Sunday. I went to a coffee shop to meet a friend of mine there. We had coffee, and we're just catching up for a little while. It's a coffee shop that I frequented often, so it was a place I was familiar with, and it's a locals place. So you see a lot of familiar faces, and the staff gets to know you. And we went in, and my friend Nick and I, sorry, Nick, his name is Nick as well. My friend Nick and I went into the coffee shop. We were having coffee. We'd been there for a couple of hours just talking, and a couple incidentally came in, and I didn't really notice them much coming in. I mean, I just, saw them come in, but I noticed them more because they were walking towards the area where that we were sitting, and we weren't really having a private conversation. We were kind of finishing up, but we weren't quite ready to call it quits. And they came and they sat down near us, and it was a husband and wife. Their name was Wayne and Tricia, is how they introduced themselves to us. They said they lived in the area, and it's not unusual in Southern California at all in coffee shops for people to strike up conversations. And it's not unusual to walk into coffee shops and hear any manner of conversations between complete strangers in Southern California. It's really quite a place. So it's not unusual that I would be having a conversation with complete strangers and end up talking very in depth about my health. And this came up because this gentleman had cancer, and I don't want to say what kind of cancer he had, but he had a terrible cancer that it has a low survival rate, and he has survived. So just so that everyone knows, he to this date, to my knowledge, he's still with us, and so he wanted to know more about my health. And so I told him just a little bit real quick about my professional history, as we've been talking about that. And I told him, the first time that I got sick, I was, at the Pentagon and blah, blah, blah. And he was listening. And after some time, he's like, I think that you're just holding all of this inside of you. And have you ever tried meditation? And I said, oh yeah, I certainly have. And about this time, my friend Nick says, he's got to get back to the coast, and that's where he lived. So he said goodbye, left the three of us sitting there, and Wayne says, what do you think of aliens? And I said, oh, I fucking love them. I think about them all the time. Because I was just, this several weeks after this contact. And so he said, well, I could take you to meet some aliens here in the desert. And I didn't believe him at first, but I asked, a lot of questions like, oh yeah, well, where would you be taking me to meet these? He said, well, and then he told me the story. He said, I own this big part, all this land over here, and it includes this mountain essentially. And I had been seeing some UFOs over my property, and He said he went up one night up on, somewhere on the mountain, and I can't tell you when this was, where this was. I can just tell you that this is what he told me, that he went up on top of the mountain, and he made first contact with a couple of beings that had been standing there, and that they told him that they had a place inside the mountain, like a base inside the mountain, and that they didn't mean him any harm, and that everything was going to be okay. And then they sent him on his way. And I don't have all the details of that story, unfortunately. But this is the reason why I believed Wayne, was because of the second part of what he said. He said, because I said, well, what did you do when you went home? He said, I was obsessed. He said, I couldn't stop thinking about it. He said he barely slept for days. All he could think about was getting inside of that mountain. I don't know the technical ways in which he did that. I can tell you that Wayne owns a construction company. And in Southern California, if you're going to be in the desert and you do construction, you absolutely do know how to clear rock. And you absolutely do know how to blast into mountains. People out here, it's not unusual for folks to have partially recessed homes, even into the sides of mountains. It's actually quite a big trend out here. He told me that he got some explosives, and I don't know what else he did. I don't know what he did, but he said that he excavated that tunnel, and that he had military, like, camouflage netting, and the story that he told me in the coffee house made it really sound like I was going to walk up to this this structure that was outside of this tunnel opening, and it was all going to be like military grade camo and all of this. And really what it ended up being when I walked up to it was it was like he had like a shed, and there were some beams that he had taken from that he had somehow attached to the shed and was going, into the towards the side of the mountain, and all of that was camouflaged so that you couldn't see the opening at all. Okay. But anyway, so long story short, he tells me this, and he asks me if I want to go see them. That he tells me he made his way to their base inside the mountain. And I immediately called my daughter, and dropped her a pin of where I was going. And a couple of other friends just dropped her a pin, said, this is where I'm at. I'm at this address. And if you don't hear from me by tomorrow, you'd better come and get what's left of me. It was kind of crazy, right? But so here I am thinking, yes, I absolutely do want to see them in the mountain. And so I go with them. They have another couple that friends that have come to the coffee house. I think it was incidental. And they just saw us over there. They came over and started chatting. It seemed very incidental. And he just started talking to him. And he was like, yeah, we're going back over to my place. You guys want to come along? He's like, yeah, I'm going to take her into the tunnel. And he was like, oh, you're going to take her into the tunnel? So these people know about it. And there are four of them. They were just standing in this coffee house talking about it. Like, oh yeah, you're going to take her into the tunnel? Oh yeah, let's go do that. So we get to his property. We go into the house, and he shows me around a little bit. And he tells me while we're in there that there's a separation in his house from one section to another, and it's separated by like a wooden beam that goes like across the top, and there's wooden beams that come down the side. So it's really an elaborate kind of frame for an entryway. And he said to me, "This is where they put me when they're done with me." And I said, "Who puts you where?" He said, "No, when after I go see the aliens, when they're done talking to me, they just put me right back here." And I have to tell you, I did not believe him. Okay, obviously, who would? I did not believe the man. So I'm a little hesitant to walk down there, but people know where I'm at, so I feel pretty confident. And they're regulars in this coffee house, and they weren't trying to sneak out with me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, God and everybody saw us all together in there. And so I didn't feel like there was any kind of nefariousness that I was going to be walking into, but who knows? So we walk down to his house, and we get to the mountain, to the shed area, and he lifts up the first part of it, and we go inside, and that's when I see the wood that's like going across from the shed that everything is draped over. And then there's more netting that's covering up, or that's just like hanging on the side of the mountain. Okay. And he grabs it and lifts it up, and a gust of air, comes out. It's dark as dark is in there. And while we were up at the house, they got he and his friend. I'm so sorry, I don't remember the other couple's name. They were so incidental. I had a difficult time even having a conversation with them because all of the stuff that was happening. So I had no idea what their names were. But Wayne and his friend, they both put on the headlamps, and we entered the tunnel. And the tunnel that he had dug, it was pretty rustic. It was, if I stretched out my arms on each side of me, I would probably touch the wall, I mean, it wasn't like there was a lot of room. I could stand all the way. The guys could as well. Neither one of them were really tall. But his friend, Wayne's friend, was a little taller, and he was hunching more, probably than he needed to, but he did feel a little uncomfortable. So maybe it was around, just over 6 foot high, maybe a little higher. And it was indeed dark. So we're walking, I don't know for how long, maybe 5-10 minutes. It's there. It's a little dangerous sometimes. There were a few times that I stumbled. I stuck pretty much right between Wayne and his friend, just very eager to be at the back. I'm not having a conversation with the ladies. The ladies are in the rear, and they're just chatting. I mean, they're having a conversation and about something. And I'm thinking to myself, how are you people having a conversation right now? We are about to go. What's happening? So I would say periodically, what's happening here? Out loud, because I was having this cognitive dissonance effect. Okay. Because I'm having a very intense moment, and they're in the back just chatting it up. It's like, hey, you want to go see some aliens in the mountain? And his friend's like, yeah, sure. And so nothing is making sense to me. And I keep saying, what's going on? What's happening? And Wayne would say, it's okay. We're going to be there soon. It's fine. And so we keep walking, and after a few minutes, I can see light coming from ahead. And it turns out that it's coming from a curvature that heads over towards the right. Okay. Of where the tunnel is. Because the tunnel, it's not, we're not zigzagging all over the place. Okay. And that's one of the most confusing parts of this. I mean, when we first go into the tunnel, and I'm sorry, I skipped this. When you first go in, you're immediately just looking at wall to your right. Okay. Or rock to your right, rock right in front of you. And the tunnel is to your left. So you have to make an immediate turn left into this tunnel. And then it starts meandering in. Okay. So now I'm seeing light, and I'm just really anxious at this point to know what's going to be at the end of this tunnel, because I'm not sure what's happening. And as we round the corner, we take a few steps. Wayne and I came to a complete stop, and about 20 feet in front of me was an opening to what looked like a base hidden inside this mountain. And standing there were 4 beings. There were two beings that I can only describe to you as what we now know, or what we in the community call tall whites. I didn't have a word for them at the time. They were maybe near 6 feet tall, slender, humanoid, very beautiful, male and female. They looked in my human understanding of a male and a female. There was a third tall white that was standing sort of behind them. And Roderick, I believe, I have some drawings.
All right now.
Huh?
I said, all right now.
I mean, I have several of them, but I feel that for tonight, that the one that would be the most interesting. I don't know. I have pictures of. I have drawings of the beings themselves. I have drawings of the tunnel. I have drawings of coming, coming around that corner and where everyone was standing when we first saw each other. I have, other pictures of other things that we haven't talked about yet. But I do have that. If you would be interested in that.
Yes, I will. And I am. So we'll talk about it later and get it in, maybe do a follow up with everybody here. And then I'll probably have a place to place them, maybe 1 or 2 so they can see them. And then, we'll go from there. But go ahead, continue.
Okay. So we come around the corner, and Wayne and I both stop dead in our tracks. And there in front of us, we've got the 3 tall whites, and there's a small gray. And he's standing in front of the 2 whites, and they are all acting like they're talking to each other or looking at each other. And they all turn their heads and look. And then the little one, he turns his body and kind of faces me. And then I get this image, and it's like, oh, hi, Anjali. We've been meaning to talk to you. I mean, it was almost that casual, and my spouse and I have been trying to figure this out, like try to understand this first interaction, and that greeting. I, up until just last week when I posted this on Reddit, I had never thought about the fact that perhaps they were waiting there. Like maybe all of this was just a intentionally staged or set up so that I would be there. I can't even begin to understand why. But I've been trying to wrap my mind around how those 4 beings were standing right there when I came around that corner. And how they wouldn't know that we were coming, and they wouldn't know that I was there. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But so after he said, we've been meaning to talk to you, we've been meaning to see you, gave me that kind of greeting, I guys, I just walked right towards him without hesitation. It wasn't like being compelled, but there was just no other thing to do at that moment but to go up to them. And so I walked up to them, and they told me that they wanted to talk to me. And they told, it was the gray. The gray is the one that's talking to me. Okay. And he's telling me, I'm looking down at him. He's probably about 4 foot tall, oversized head for his body, oversized eyes, not a lot of prominent features, very, very thin neck and wafy body, like it's barely there. And he's telling Wayne and Trisha and their friends that they have to leave. And that I'm going to stay there. And Wayne gets visibly upset. He did not want to leave me there. And he's still standing inside the tunnel. I'm now standing in their space with them. And Wayne says that, that he doesn't want to go. I'm kind of at this moment, I'm picking up everything. Like, I'm picking up what they're saying to Wayne and what Wayne's, how Wayne's communicating back. Like, I'm picking up all of this information. And so essentially Trisha and their friends leave and Wayne stayed. So his wife and friends, they literally just left and went home like it was no big deal. And I was led from that space down a small corridor, or excuse me, I was briefly led down a corridor. I have no idea how big the corridor or how long it is. I was only in that space for a very short period of time when a door opened and I went into another space. So before I go into that space, Roderick, is there anything that you want to ask, or am I doing okay still?
You are.
You're
Can
doing
I
great.
make a interjection real quick here?
Look, all of these Rodericks, I get it. Rodericks. No. But go ahead, my brother Roderick, Nick, my brother Roderick Allen. These are all my brothers in the way. Go ahead, y'all.
I told you my name was Roderick. So do you guys remember hearing about how Native American, or the indigenous people of North America, when they first encountered the Europeans, they thought they were gods, right? They thought that, according to history, when they were riding a horse, that it was one creature. The man on the horse was a single entity, not two animals, human and a horse. Now, think to people who have think to like the fundamental message and the roots of major religions. Specifically, I'm going to think about Islam, and I think it's Mount Sinai, where Muhammad, he disappeared from his home and reappeared unexplainably on a mountain. And he then downloaded all this information that at its most fundamental level is truth, peace, love. Here are some left and right limits on how to conduct yourself as a human so that you can get along and progress as a single humanity. This sounds, I'm not suggesting that Anjali is the next coming of Christ, but what I am suggesting is that if you want to look at this objectively, throughout history, we've seen things like this. And what makes today different from then is we are now sufficiently progressed technologically that we are perceiving things, these kinds of interactions with higher beings, so to speak, in a different way from a technological perspective. So I just want to put that out there because I know a lot of people are probably like, oh, this sounds too crazy to be true. I think it lines up very well with a lot of what we already accept to be true. And I just wanted to throw that out there, actually. Please.
All right. And so what I'm going to do, Anjali, is what I'm going to do. I'm going to I have a few questions, about 10, and then I will open it up to our guests to ask some questions. Is
Okay,
that fair
but
enough?
did she finish this? I don't think she finished the whole part of that little segment there, Roderick.
Am I going too long, Roderick? Is that what's happening?
No, you. I just want to. I didn't know when you said if you wanted anything you wanted me to add or just kind of go into that, but yeah, you can.
Oh, no, I was just wondering before I go into the room with them. I was just wondering if there was anything that I had missed or that you wanted me to talk about from, that first experience, just that first moment of seeing each other and being in contact. I just wasn't sure.
No, it's your story. Okay. Whenever you pause, I didn't know if you were just trying to, we're here for you. We're listening. You continue, and when you're done, then I'm sure there's people just wanting to ask a few things up here. So.
I just want to know, were you picking up things telepathically when you were dialoguing with the Gray, and you were picking up a little conversation with Wayne and everything?
Oh yeah, that was all. None of that was spoken.
Okay.
I'm not even sure now, and I thought about this a lot. I don't remember if I don't remember if anybody spoke out loud. I don't remember that. I just remember understanding what was happening and just having that dialogue in my head. He may have, and maybe I was busy with other dialogue. I don't remember that. And so I want to be honest about that.
But you were in a super aware state because somehow something got turned on, it sounded like.
I was turned on. I was very turned, like bright light lit up. Yeah. So I followed the Gray, and the whites were with us. They were like almost gathered around me, and we went down this corridor to a like an arch. It was like a half circle, and what I'm seeing now, by the way, everything's it's metal, or something like that. I'm not in rock anymore. Everything is extremely smooth, extremely sterile, and clean and minimalist. I mean, just like the most austere, probably nobody here has ever been awake in an operating room, but it was even more austere than an operating room. It was like there was just nothing there, except the corridor and the doors. There weren't things on the walls or anything like that. Everything, it was just very efficient. And so we're walking up to this half circle, and suddenly it's like it was like the door that I didn't realize was a door, but it like slid into the wall like a pocket door, like a sliding pocket door. It was like that. And it just slid in smoothly and without any sound that I can think of that really stood out to me. And on the other side of that door was this being looking down at me with lavender skin. And I'm sorry, I just got chills like head to toe. This being was 7.5, 8 foot tall. And it was my being. It was my little being that appeared to me in my room that I had been talking to all that time, except it wasn't a little being. It was 7.5, 8 foot tall being. And I couldn't say anything. I just remember looking up at its face and feeling such awe and wonder and just feeling very at peace at where I am. I had zero fear, zero discomfort. They had me at one point in a supine position. Okay, that I was on my back, and I don't know if I was laying on something or if I was somehow floating, but I couldn't feel anything beneath me. I didn't feel anything. And all I can see are their faces looking at me while they're telling me their message and the reason that they have contacted me, why I'm there. And they implore me to remember who I am. They start saying things like, remember who you are. Remember why you're here. Remember what you're doing, they would say. And they told me that essentially that what I thought was going on here isn't what's really going on. That not only is we have to stop communicating with our human language. We have to learn how to communicate with each other the way that they communicate with me. And the reason that is so important is because in that communication we realize our oneness. It's like that's where the seed of our singular consciousness is. It's like where we discover that is in our meditation, and that we can all have conscious contact, and they said that we must evolve, and they start telling me this story that sounded so confusing for my little brain. They said that there was some group or a council. I don't know the word to use, but there's like this group of higher beings that have been overseeing humanity, and that at some point in the past, and I don't know if they mean like 1960 or if they mean like, thousands of years ago. I have no idea. But they said that in the past that there were 7 of them that on this council that oversee humanity, and that 2 of them at some point had begun to tire of the human experience or the human experiment, and like they were disappointed in our behavior and our evolution, and they didn't want to have anything to do with us anymore. Okay, and that then there were the 5 of them that have been overseeing us, but that because of the things that we have done here on Earth, that there are 2 others that are no longer in their group, in their council anymore, and that those other 2 have somehow aligned themselves with the previous 2 that at some point had abandoned us, and that these 4 are coming here, and that it is of essentially the utmost urgency that humanity learn to raise its consciousness and begin practice transcendence, is what they told me, that I have to prepare to transcend. And they said that there were, that not everyone would go, but that there's a change coming, and that it's going to be difficult for some, and that this transcendence is like, it's like the end of an old way and the beginning of a new way. Like a beginning, like, oh, it's so hard. It's like they're saying that when you transcend, that something very significant changes in your reality. And that we can reach that transcendence by practicing their communication techniques and recognizing the oneness in all of our life, like that we are a single energy. We are one thing. It's like we play tricks in our own heads about what we're doing and who we are, and that we have forgotten that we are part of this one singular consciousness. That's the story. That's the experience.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes,
Absolutely
yes.
amazing.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, I forgot. So let me tell you real quick. So we come out of the room, and we go back to the corridor. We go back to the little alcove, I'll call it. And Wayne, God bless him. I'll tell you what, guys, if you ever have to be in a foxhole, you want Wayne there, because that man stood in that tunnel, and I don't know how long he was there, but he stood there and he waited for me to come out. And the last thing that I remember being with them is Wayne, for the first time, taking a step into the space where I was standing with them. And the very next moment, I was standing in Wayne's house beneath that arch with Wayne.
Amidst all of his friends.
Wow. And his friends were in the house.
We hear the
and they were like,
hubby.
"Oh, hey, you guys are back."
We hear the hubby in the background, so
You hear him. He keeps me so honest. God bless him.
okay, all right. I tell you, this has been an awesome night, and for those of you who just getting in here with us, I am recording this. I will place it on our extraterrestrial podcast tomorrow, so you guys can hear it or share it with other people so they can get it within its entirety. Anjali, I want to make a quick point here. I've been getting a few texts on the back end through Instagram, and got one of, I think there's a misunderstanding here. I got someone telling me I need to not just, interrupt you, let you do your thing. And they don't know our relationship. And and I think the whole point is, I know how stressful this is for you. We talked about it, we know. And so I try to make sure when I think that this is getting a little stressed, then I can come in with more of a question to kind of keep things on track or slow it down. But I know a lot of people want to hear the story. So if you let them know it's okay that you and I and your hubby and we all have a great relationship, okay?
You know what, you guys, listen, Roderick has been just such a blessing in the last week. I can't tell you. This is, I don't know how to tell this story. Here I am. I haven't released this yet, but here I am trying to write a book about a subject that requires that we don't use words. So it's hard for me to explain all of this, and I appreciate the prompts. And I've talked to Roderick, and Max, has talked to Roderick quite a bit, and we just feel very grateful to have his guidance and his support at this time. So.
All right. Thank you. So I got about 10 questions, and you still have time to answer them. And then I know, our guest here, Chrissy, got some questions, and, a few, and Marie and Alan and Tiffany and Nick and I know you. So, but I just want to kind of some things I was writing down as we're talking, if you don't mind, and I'll run through them.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So, and for the rest of you that's up here, you guys will be next. Okay. I promise. I really promise. So let me begin here and just say, just from the beginning, why throw away a potential career in telling this experience? We know how it goes out there, right? So, why do this?
Well, that's a great question. First of all, we started this experience with me being in a hospital bed in the ICU. It's in and of itself has taken me on a journey of healing and introspection and retrospection that you can probably imagine people go through. I put a lot of pride into the kind of work that I did. It was a point of pride for me. I had believed for several years that there was going to be some magic wand that some doctor was going to wave for me that was going to get me back into the physical shape that I had been in prior to 2017 when I went into the hospital. And just recently, I saw a geneticist who informed me that no, darling, you're probably not going to be feeling much better than you are. And in fact, you may want to hold on tight. This is going to be rough. And so that gave me some more freedom to explore whether or not I had the courage to come forth and tell this story. And it allowed me the space to go to my children and my adult children and my teenage son, and because he is a teenager now, and ask their thoughts and if see how they felt about it. And they were all very supportive. And they said, you've got to tell people this story, Mom. And so I think that once I realized that I probably wasn't going to have the energy to go back into full-time intel work, it gave me a little bit of room where I could relax and think about what else mattered. And so then things that matter, like my husband and my children, we want to protect the people that we love. Nick spoke a little bit about some of the harassment that I've had on Reddit, and I got to tell you, some of it's been pretty nasty. I'm really super surprised at the incredibly deeply personal attacks that have been going on. I did expect a heck of a lot of pushback, and luckily I can take it. But it's been enough of a peek inside the minds of people when I give this message that it made me a little wary, to come out more publicly and reveal who I am. I just saw yesterday a post that there's a photo of Bigfoot that somebody has captured supposedly in Oklahoma. I don't know if anyone is aware of this, but this has been something that started really circulating around this week.
That big $1 million bounty, yeah.
Yeah. Like yesterday when I saw it, it was they were offering a $2 million bounty for this creature that's been photographed, dead or alive. And these, and then, and then people are saying, "Oh, give us the coordinates. Oh, tell us who you are." You gotta be kidding me.
I get it. And I'm sure the rest of everybody here gets it. Yes.
But so so I guess, for me, a lot of things had to happen, and it took some time for them to fall into the right place in the right order for me to feel like I could be more comfortable. I knew that as soon as I told this story that it would be a career ender, and so I thought, well, heck, I don't need to continue to do any of this work. I don't need to spend any more of my life on this. And in fact, it's the exact opposite of what the beings have told me to do. They have been very, very clear that I am not to be concerning myself with human affairs. And sometimes I have really not listened to that and have gotten extremely off track, and tried to even go into a sense of denial, even like I couldn't wait to share this experience with my best friend. But then as soon as I did, I thought, well, that couldn't be right. Like, that just can't be. But as time went on, it became apparent to me that if nothing else, there was consistency in what they were telling me, and that all of the emotions and the feelings that I would receive from them while they were talking to me were so outstanding and so loving and accepting that I thought that there's no way that this can be a bad thing, right? And so then it just became a matter of me just accepting and listening. And I had conscious contact several times for a few days before I made the post. And the post was rushed. It was the first draft. It was the first time I'd ever put it in writing. And I just hit post before I changed my mind, and I just walked away.
Wow. Great. And so I do have a couple of questions. I'm going to combine these two so that, give everybody else a chance here a little bit. But I did a video called Why Now? Why we're seeing so many different UFOs and everything. So I'm going to flip the title. Why you? Why, if they have a mission out here and, why would they tell a select few people if they want humanity to understand their message? And so in particularly, why you, Anjali? Why you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's one that I've been trying to figure out for a while. First of all, I do want to say, first and foremost, the most important part of this is that they aren't just telling me, or a select few. I am of the understanding that they attempt to contact us all. And if we listen, then we can have a conscious contact with them. So why me? Maybe that I'm hearing them. I don't know why. Could it be because I've been so ill in my life? Could it be that I still am? Do I have one foot on, on living and not living? I don't know. I don't know why me. I don't feel special. I'm not a chosen anything. I am just a person who has been told to tell this message, and that's it. I don't have an answer. Maybe they know. We should ask them. Maybe they'll tell us.
Well,
you guys, when you meditate, go ask.
So I guess then it just takes me into the next question, which I wrote this while you was talking just now, and I was like, okay, so we're going to talk about conscious contact. So is conscious contact something that you have to completely understand on like a technical level in order to accomplish it, or maybe is it something gradually, a skill that someone can learn, like playing a guitar? How do we get here? And I know Alan talks about that later, and he can make a note and bring it up later as well. But how does this happen?
Okay. My understanding of this is that much like the skill of playing a guitar, that the more you practice, the better you get at it. And if you want to play guitar really well, then you practice a lot. So, the old human adage that practice makes perfect. Well, maybe in this case we should listen to that. I think that one of the most profound things that we can do is to bring ourselves into our present moment. We spend so much time in our heads thinking about what happened yesterday, worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, or what we're going to do in 5 minutes, or the thing that's in front of us, the phone that's ringing, the cat that's meowing. I mean, we're always worrying and paying attention to everything that's happening except like our present moment. And it's when we slow down all of the external stimuli and we bring our mind like mindfully into a place where we are seeing through the eyes of the single consciousness, that I'm sorry, I have a cat that's misbehaving, and it distracted me. My apologies. That if we can bring ourselves into the present moment, and meditate at that spot, that is the place at which contact can be heard, because contact happens quite often. It can be happening when you're washing the dishes and you get this flash of something in your mind, that you can't pinpoint why it came into your mind. Maybe if you stop for a moment and you think on that, what was that image? What did you see? Did you hear anything with it? Is there sound in your mind? Smells, ideas that are new or different, that you feel like have almost intruded. You have to create a place where you can hear it, because if your mind and your environment, everything around you is so busy and noisy all the time, how can you hear something like a soft presence that is just gently trying to make its introduction to you?
Wow. And that kind of goes into, you used the word, or you talked about transcend earlier. As individuals, and I'm sure our audience and people are thinking or have this question, what can we do as individuals to transcend? And as I bring both of these questions together, what is the easiest way for someone who's never had the experience with this type of thing kind of begin? And like I said, again, I keep noting back to Alan. I know he's chomping at the bits, but he'll be coming up in a little while. But at the same time, so let's talk about what can individuals do to transcend.
Okay, well, I think first of all, one of the most important things for us to be able to recognize is that they are telling us that we have a singular consciousness, okay, that we are all one energy. We are one thing, and we are all connected through this conscious contact that we have, okay, that we can have with each other and that we can have with the higher beings. And I think it starts by, number one, recognizing that this is something that mystics have been saying for thousands of years. They've been telling us for thousands of years that all of life is connected. Well, what are the mystics doing? Well, the mystics are they're changing their worldview. They're changing their dialogue. They're changing the words that they use. They're recognizing when they have a word that's divisive, or that that is from a place that's not the awareness of our spiritual connection, but is that place that we come from when we're worried about what everybody's thinking about us. If we live in our heads and in our ego, essentially, and we allow that to motivate us, and for that to be our reactive place that we start from, when we do that, then we are disconnecting ourselves from that conscious contact. So a very important part is to recognize our own behavior and our own thinking processes, our own word choices, and the things that we do in our daily lives that automatically create false divisions between us.
Wow. And so that is powerful. That's powerful.
Amazing. Yeah.
And I have a couple more here before I turn it over to my friends here that are waiting.
Okay.
What I found out, or did some study throughout, and especially being part of MUFON, and so y'all know in the audience, I'm a MUFON field investigator, and so is Tiffany. But one of the things throughout this is that there's always been recorded reports in history, about contactees that have interacted with a variety of different entities, and they all seem to, in my opinion, have, that similar experiences as yourself, and they have reported similar messages about, just big things happening, kind of minutes events coming, but usually by some result, if it's going to be humanity going to run a mulk, is what they say, or, how did the contactee have been chosen as, some people say they're representatives to save the world. You hear all of this out there, and they're here to spread the word far and wide. But in all of those cases, the entities have held all the cards, right? Because we talk about that, all the time, and they often fall from contact for whatever reason. They just kind of fall off, and whether is it due to the agenda, lack of care, or the inability to continue? So my question to this, if I've been jammering here, is what assurances do you have that these entities are willing to put their cards on the table since they're contacting you, or are they simply utilizing you, or maybe this audience that's listening now and have their other contactees, why not have the other ones spread their narratives as usual? We hear this all the time. So.
Mm-hmm. So what assurances do I have that they're willing to put their cards on the table?
Yeah.
That they're not just messing around.
Yeah.
Is that, well, okay. Well, first I would have to say that, the notion of holding cards is actually, in complete juxtaposition to what they're saying. They're offering an olive branch, an opportunity for a deeper sense of connection and growth for humanity than any message I've heard in my life. They're telling us, hey, we're all the same and you can talk to us. We're all connected. And these are the things that you have to do to bring your humanity up so that you can evolve into this next era that we're supposed to go into. Like they're not holding cards, like playing a game with us. They are offering us the keys to our own existence.
Okay. And something that really, I think that was a shocker to me, and hearing this the first time tonight, and I just want to kind of go into, in your post while I was reading, actually, is where I read it in the Roderick post, that you believe that there was 4 races who are not friendly to have already arrived. Can you elaborate on this a little bit,
Yeah. Okay. So Nick will probably be able to relate to this. So after all of this contact that I had, I for a period of time I went into a spiral afterwards where I I was searching for anything that could possibly explain what was going on. You know what, Roderick? I have to tell you, I forgot your question. I am so sorry. It's been a long day. Please repeat your question.
Well, it's pretty much. I guess I was just talking about the four races that you said are not they're not friendly.
That who have not.
Yeah,
who have arrived. Okay, so I started scouring through videos on just about every platform that you can imagine, looking for patterns in sightings and in things that were being captured, and I think, first of all, that there has been an uptick in the types of things that we are capturing on our devices these days. And so it could be that we have just reached a technological level that allows us to see things that were never there, or that we didn't realize that were there before. And now we can see them. And they're turning up in people's TikTok videos. They're turning up in their Snapchats. They're turning up in their any videos that people are making. And the patterns that I have seen, to me, feel like we have already moved into some kind of sharing space. I guess that's the best way I can put it.
Okay.
Some kind of sharing space, because there are too many things happening simultaneously all over the world. There is some kind of synchronicity, and as well as a technological ability to see things that we haven't seen previously, that lead me to feel like the four may have already arrived.
Okay. And it's like you're reading my mind a little bit. And so let everybody know I got 4 more questions left, and then you guys can have it. But one of them out of the 4 is, are these members different alien species coming to Earth, and are they threatening to destroy people who haven't transcended? Because you was talking about transcending and how important that was. So I just kind of,
Right. Yeah, it has been stressed to me numerous times the dire importance of humanity's focus on transcending. Okay, so that message has been clear and established. I have been feeling. I've been getting more of a sense of urgency with that, which is another reason why I have felt like the other 4 may have arrived. I also have had contact from a different being than I have had contact with in the past. So it wasn't my lavender being that I've had contact with recently, and that's a very different thing for me. And I have no idea what these other 4 are like. I have no idea if they're different races than the ones that I have seen, or if they are the same. I have no idea. I just know that they were 4, and I don't know if these are 4 individuals. They say 4 members. I get this idea like it's 4 members, but I don't know what they are. I don't know if they're 4 people or if they're 4 groups. I have no idea. It seems that when they come, that there will be that separation between the transcended and the non-transcended, but I don't know what that looks like, and I'm sorry. I've thought about this so much, because because listen, this is so important, because I honestly, the contact that I've had with them, it's such a message of hope. It's not a message of, oh, the four are coming, It's so funny. They're telling us exactly how to have that not be an issue, and if all we do is worry about the four coming and try to prepare to defend ourselves in some way, then we're not going to be transcending. That's the opposite. Like, one of the things that we absolutely have to do is put our fear of this aside. You just have to trust that you can put this fear aside and you can focus on developing this conscious contact with each other and with them.
Wow.
The four that are coming, they're very upset because of the things that we have done to, not just to Earth. Like they showed me here, but not here. Like everywhere. Like that when we do things here, like when we, our rush for the nuclear bomb and all of our tests and all of the explosions that we have done some irreparable damage, like to somewhere else, you guys. I don't know what that is, but they told me it was like it was here. It's like right here, but it's not here. And that the four that are coming, they're just very upset at what we have been doing to this planet, and that what we have been doing has been affecting other places here, but not here.
Wow. Okay, so I do have one or two left. I just want to keep the countdown going for everybody. But
okay,
you mentioned humans must evolve, and we aren't doing it quickly enough. And you also said our languages was holding us back as a species because it's limited to like words, speech, knowledge, diverse languages, even our muscle memory palette, unconfuse me a little bit. What was the thoughts and what was going on in your head when you got this first message, so everybody else maybe can recognize it? I don't know, just unconfuse me there. I'm just,
Sure. Well, I would say that when I received the message, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had spent my entire career writing. I have written so many government profiles, and I've written curriculum, collegiate curriculum, grad school curriculum. I've written books. I've written for magazines, for newspapers. And this guy's going to show up and tell me to stop using words? Like, oh, I'm sorry, does not compute. Like, I had no idea how I was supposed to accomplish that. When I first got that message the first time, I thought, this has got to be some kind of God's trolling the humans moment here, because you're coming to a writer and telling her, oh, you have to stop using words. I just thought, this just doesn't make sense to me. So that was my initial reaction. That was my very first thought was, I don't know what is going on here. Why, what?
Well, it's amazing, and I'm going to skip my other question and just say this to come to my conclusion or end here, but it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if I'm going too deep, but Avatar, right? And you're thinking about, how the whole movie of, we all are avatars, somebody else's, and the tree of life and all that. Do you ever get that kind of, connection there? You know what I mean?
Oh, I absolutely get that connection.
Okay, I just thought I was out there, but I was like, this is kind of like Avatar, so go ahead.
No, not the connection to the movie, what you're saying. Well, I mean, I guess kind of. I haven't never thought of it in that respect, but the word Avatar. So if you could move away from the movie, because I was thinking more about the word Avatar. One of the profound changes that I experienced after this contact with them was an understanding that my consciousness is residing in an avatar, that this is not that this is a temporary condition of a permanent consciousness. And it has transformed my approach to my own body and to my own illness and to everything. I mean, of course, once you have that kind of realization, it really rocks you. But I actually began referring to my body as an avatar.
Yeah. See, that's where I was going with that a little bit. When you think about it, in, you know, how in the movie Avatar, they were placing, you know, they can place you into the avatar. And then when you think about the tree of life, everybody is connected. Everything is connected. You know, we're all are one, you know, on that particular place they were, you know, the tree of life. And it's just kind of goes back into almost what I think the message apart is just that, you know, we all one, although we have so much separation out here and so much war and all these things, but it appears that from somehow the origin, we're all one, you know?
That's right.
Yeah.
It does appear that way.
Yeah. And so that's just me. And so anyway, guys, this is Roderick Martin. And, you know, if you haven't had an opportunity, follow the speakers here. You know, we're here with our time and glad that you guys are here. You could have been anywhere else. You chose to be right here, right now. And so the currency here on Clubhouse is follows, right? And so if you are enjoying what you hear, just follow us, or, you know, and we appreciate it, so that because it's not going to be the first and last time she's here. So we're going to go deeper in some areas. So with that being said, my question and Q&A is over, but I will hope that my other speakers here don't have as long as questions that I have. And hopefully I, you know, did something special here and answer a few. So what we're going to do is go with the ladies first, and I'll go from left to right, and I'll go with Marie here. And then, of course, Tiffany is here to support, but she does probably have a question too. And then we'll go to Christy, and then the greatness of Alan will, because you guys definitely is on the same page, so I want to save him for last. So Marie, go ahead.
Yeah. You know, Anjali, thank you so much for sharing such an amazing story and just being here. It's been so enlightening, and I've been able to actually attach myself to a lot of your experiences just because of what I've been through. One of the most compelling things in my life with a lot of the research that I've done is being able to get the acceptance or at least acknowledgement of my family, with me having come out and opened up about what I've been dealing with. How has that affected you, dealing with your family and having that grounding for you to be able to continue doing what you're doing?
Oh my gosh, I have to tell you, it's been amazing. Max is such a supportive partner. I honestly, I couldn't do this without him. He was encouraging and has been encouraging and supportive all along. It was more difficult, you know, thinking about my children. My two adult children are very much on the same page. They believe my experience. They believe their mother, you know, and my daughter has even had her own contact with the lavender being. And so I haven't had to. I've been very fortunate, Marie. I really have. I can't complain. My only concern is regarding, you know, I have a young son, and I have an ex, and these are the kinds of ideas that can be very troublesome in society for people. And sometimes when you really hit a nerve, then they recoil and they attack. And I have seen a lot of that on Reddit, and it's been my concern that it could interfere, you know, just with my relationship with my youngest son. And I just hope that that's not the case. So those have been my concerns regarding my family.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And it just makes me feel so much more confident in my movements and my journey, just hearing everything that you shared. So it's been, I can go on all night.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that, Marie.
And just having that compatibility with you. But again, thank you, Anjali, for being here.
Oh, thank you. It's such a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. And basically, Marie, you said something that really just stuck out. Tiffany and I was planning our next or in the future, we was going to do a room, and you just really hit it on, and the room was going to be about relationships. How does believing in paranormal ufology, affect a marriage or potential marriage, or two people when one don't believe in the spouse? Because I definitely went through it in my last divorce. I could not talk about UFOs in the house. So you guys can imagine me doing this thing now, that I could not talk about UFOs in the house. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, and to have, and like the story that I put behind this was that when I started this Clubhouse, I intentionally said, at least I could get 30 people I could talk to, right? That's all I wanted. Now it's 10,000. So, and growing, and we're going to do that Thursday night. So any of you listening, if you got issues in your house and you want a place to talk about it, we're not going to record it. We'll talk about it this Thursday about relationships and the effect of believing. And if you have a spouse or a friend or family members, or you just can't talk to anybody else but now we know we are here, we're all together, and this is our place. And so you're going to always be able to talk about it here and don't feel anything but accept it. And this is the new phenomenon that we're going to do here. And that's going to be the topic for Thursday. Y'all don't miss it. Bring your emotions, because we're going to deal with it together. And I'll move on right now to the greatness of, all right, Tiffany, you want to go? And then we'll, both of y'all are great, but, I know Chrissy just is waiting. She's, but go ahead.
Oh, sure. First, I just wanted to thank you for being here. I was struck while you were telling your story, and Roderick actually, by bringing up Avatar, kind of solidified this for me. The similarities between the message that you received and the cognitions that you now have about reality, and the similarities with Sanatana Hindu Dharma about reality being almost like a construct, and in Hinduism they would call that like the Maya, and that connected. But to round it up, have you found any type of similarity in that, and maybe some connection with faith areas like that, or has any of that changed for you with this? Because I know those concepts are not necessarily like, if we look back at like Abrahamic religions, they might not necessarily be in conflict, but possibly just changed from that. So how's that been for you?
That's a great question. I was raised in a Christian home. Went to church most of my life as a child. When I was raising my children, we went to church. I'd say about 10 years ago, I had a faith crisis, in that I always had a very difficult time with the Abrahamic religions and the stories that were provided to us. And in in American Christianity, there's not a lot of room for questioning. And I decided about 10 years ago that if there was a God, God was dead, and that we were done, that we were just alone. And I became more of a humanist and began believing more in the ability of the human itself to overcome its obstacles, rather than waiting for a divine entity to come down and just solve all of the issues. So how this changed that is I don't have a lot of the vocabulary for the ideas that you were just talking about, Tiffany. I have a vague sense of understanding about Hinduism and Buddhism. I see some overlaps, some very serious overlaps in the message of the beings and some of the messages that I have found echoed in Hinduism and Buddhism. And that's really taken my mind for quite the ride. I don't really know what to make of that. And so I typically just don't. Because the idea of Hinduism and the idea of Buddhism and the idea of Abrahamic religions, and they're all being so separate, those are such human ideas. And they've challenged all of us to overcome our human experience and our human way of thinking, and to not be so caught up and so married to the things that we do as humans. And so I think that in taking that step back, and not looking at it from a perspective of Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, Zoroastrianism, whatever, if we can try not to put those labels on things, then perhaps the thread that is woven through all of them, and the place that everything intersects and is interwoven, maybe we'll be able to begin to uncover those things rather than to focus on the fact that we have differences. You understand? So I don't think a lot about religion. I think a lot about conscious connection and the oneness of our existence, and the fact that something, if we listen to the message that we are all one, and yet we are all in separate avatars, somehow we are fractured. We are many, but we are one. And I spend a lot of time meditating on what that means.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, avatar is a Hindu word. That's why I got
it?
Really, yes, that's where.
See, I didn't even know.
Yeah, so that's where I drew that from. I didn't know what that relationship was, but thank you so much. Thank you for being here. It's a
Hindu. What does it mean? I mean,
it means exactly what you think it means. Like,
okay.
I don't want to get too far into it because I don't want to take up too much time, but I'm a religious studies major, so I could talk your ear off all day, but the Atman being the soul, being part of Brahman, who is the consciousness that we all have, and that we're kind of just having this momentary experience in these bodies, and the avatar is like that incarnation of, supreme in the body, and we're all we're all one. I am you, you are me, all of that.
Yes.
So, but I won't take up too much time here. But
Well, thank you so much, Tiffany, for sharing that. I didn't know that.
See,
wow.
I feel so privileged. Tiffany is the new admin for our extraterrestrial evidence, and didn't I just pick it right?
You did.
All right.
Thank you, Robert.
But we do have a intelligence team too that's behind the scenes, guys. We're gonna build something big here, okay? And really, I really enjoyed, and I want to give a shout out to one of my guys there in the audience experience, and he has the paranormal room there, society. You guys got to hop in on some of those things too. They go really deep as well, and I can't wait to collaborate with them too in the future. But just want to give him the shout out. But here we go. We're gonna go and actually it's the Extra Paranormal Society. I didn't want to chop his room up, y'all. I'm sorry. He'll forgive me though. But anyway, Chrissy, you're up.
Hey, Anjali. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Hi. Have you ever heard of a writer named Marshall Summers? By chance?
I don't think so.
There's a book called, sorry, it's my dog. There's a book called Allies of Humanity. He has multiple different books that talks about just experiences that he's had channeling. There's multiple groups that you probably know of that have had multiple channeling experiences. From Raw, I don't know if you're familiar with a group of scientists that were doing some research in the 80s.
Yeah, I just heard about Raw for the first time last week.
The Law of One
experience. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Law of One. So there's lots of groups, and the Allies of Humanity. I actually read the book. I was told about this book, but there's a lot of parallels to things that you're saying within it.
Okay.
So I guess the question, why I'm kind of going through a series here is because I'm curious to see what you think before I even mention the book, and where it was kind of leading to. So in the end, when these four beings and the four kind of, people, the beings or horsemen or whoever they might be that are coming are they, and you said they're angry. So there is this,
well, I don't know if anger is quite the right word. They are they're displeased with what we've been doing. Yes. With the destruction. Yes.
Yeah. So this book talks about something similar. They talk about the Allies of Humanity, kind of we've had lots of people use this word, and I, use it lightly, a galactic federation. That they say that there is, right? And tons of people have said this, some former, military have said this as well too. So there is that conversation if it exists or not, right? We also have it in pop culture through Star Wars, to you name it. That's totally embedded in what we believe in popular culture. Right. So a part of that, looking at the Allies of Humanity, they say that in the end of this book, or in part of this book, that that the same thing that you were saying, that these people or these beings are coming, but we need to look at them as being something that isn't positive. And so that for us, we look at things and we worship them, right? We see something and we might decide to worship it. And they're saying that's actually the opposite of what we should be doing, because in this book, they reference that they might be looking to use, some type of resources that we have on this planet that they don't have, right? Again, just a book. In your contact with these beings, and now we saying this book, where do you feel that they lie in this? And why I say this is because there's multiple different groups that are saying that have had contact and have been saying different stories. So some are similar to yours, and some are the opposite, saying that they're negative. Where do you feel that this lies within those stories being told?
Well, I guess I would have to say two things. I would say that regarding the four who are coming, that the three that are warning of that or are telling us of that are incredibly loving beings. I felt such loneliness after I left them, and such a longing to be near them, that I can't imagine how that could be a negative thing. They are advocating how we are all of one spirit, and how we have to honor life everywhere because of that. And I just can't think of how that could ever be a negative thing. With regards to the four, I can say that I don't know. I don't know, Chrissy, and I can't pretend to know.
That's okay. Do you believe these other stories then have been told through other contactees that might be the opposite of what you're saying?
Well, what I would say is that I haven't read their stories or heard them, and so I'm sorry I can't offer an opinion. I can only tell you my own experience right now. I really don't know the stories well enough to make it.
That's really fair. That's fair. Or just or any other contactee story that that we've heard of, from Travis Walton to, he's had similar.
I believe Travis Walton. I mean, there's a lot of evidence there. Yeah, I believe Travis Walton. I don't know who those beings were that he was with, or what he experienced, but I believe that he did experience something.
For sure. And I do, Travis is a really compelling story.
Absolutely.
The other question I have is, there's just so much conversation with Leslie Kean right now, and, Robert Bigelow, and this research into afterlife right now that's happening. I believe he's giving away $1 million, $1 million into research around life after death experiences. How do you find that this is connected? Like, how in your mind, like, this is a really hard question to answer. I know that. But how are they interconnected to you? Because you have a life after death experience, and then you have an ET experience simultaneously, or maybe not simultaneously, very close together. How and why do you think those two things are connected?
I don't know if they're connected, but I suspect that they are connected because of the way that I received the image from the woman who came into my room. That was the first time that I ever had contact like the contact that I would later have with the being, and it was the same as I had described it. I received like an image came into my head, and it said essentially that she was the woman who had just passed away next door. And it came like a photograph into my mind. Even though I'm looking at her, I get a photograph, and then all of the information came with it. And it was very limited. It was, she has passed, and she was in the room next to you. That was essentially all. That was it. But the reason I think that they have to be interconnected in some way is because it was the same way that the beings have communicated with me. They send me the message. It's got all the metadata, and then it downloads into my head, and then I'm thinking about it, and then that's how it goes. And so there has to be an interconnection there, and perhaps something about the condition of my brain was perhaps why I heard. I don't know.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you. And personally, I truly believe that. I've always said, we use different lexicons, and that's always our trouble. We have different lexicons for all different types of things, and that sometimes we're using different lexicons, but we're saying the same things. I say that all the time too. So even outside of an experience or not, and if they're coming or not, or what it is, I think that the message that you're saying is positive and it resonates. Yeah. And I think that it's something that no matter what happens or what this story and everything else, I think it's something that we all should look at as a group of people and try to strive towards, because I do totally believe we're interconnected, and things like string theory and quantum physics is telling us that more and more every day. So if you look at science to belief in that without saying stories, if we look at science are showing those parallels as well too. So I just wanted to say thank you for saying that, because it's great that we should all be looking at a message of unity together as one.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chrissy.
All right.
Hi, Anjali.
Okay.
Thanks. Hello, Alan.
I got you, Alan. Hang on. I got something for you, Alan. Okay. Just 1 second. But Chrissy, I really appreciate it. And I will be helping Anjali get into some really safe places to tell this story. And we would love to I know you do a podcast, so whenever the chance comes, we will set some up if that's okay with you.
I have to talk to my co-host about that, but yeah, I'm not the only one who makes decisions on that.
Okay, no
but there's stuff that outside of the debrief and whatnot that for sure I have to talk with my team there. But like we can all of us always talk offline. I'm more than happy to.
No problem. Okay, so guys, here's the deal. My friend here, Alan, has been waiting, and he's a hero. So every hero deserves a theme song. So I'm gonna bring him up the right way. So now, waiting, we have my guy, Alan Stanfeld, the author of Making Contact, Preparing for New Realities of Extraterrestrial Existence. And he's my friend. So he's going to really just have some questions, but I think you guys definitely ought to look at his book when you get an opportunity, because it is the real deal, especially in the direction that we are going. So with that being said, I'm going to bring up my guy, Alan, here. All right, Alan, it is your time. Go ahead.
I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm a hero. I would just say I'm very, very curious and, about everything. And that's what's taken me into this whole realm of UFOs, because there's nothing more fascinating than humanity about to transcend itself. So Anjali, you are a breath of fresh air. You are coming at it so innocently. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That's very sweet of you.
No, but it also feels like an acceleration. Because you're here, and even Clubhouse and the way Nick and Roderick it's all come together. There's something happening, and it feels like it's speeding up here.
I have to tell you, Alan, that I agree with you. It's one of the reasons that I chose, now. Besides just the contact that I had last week that led me to, very rushedly writing out my first expression of the experience. Outside of that, Max and I have been having conversations for quite some time about how I felt like things have been speeding up, like the urgency is getting stronger.
Yes, and it's like everything is conspiring towards this big push. Just the fact that we are all on Clubhouse. This is the first time you're real going
like
public.
Like a convergence of things.
Exactly. And Roderick's brilliance and his passion to create this was all perfect timing.
I know. Perfect order. Isn't it something?
It is. So,
and it's my birthday tomorrow, y'all. So y'all can, actually, right in a few minutes in some, California or not California, but New York. It's already 12.
We got 56 minutes.
Happy birthday from Maryland.
All right, thank you.
We'll sing happy birthday before the show's over, okay?
I am going to record
That's a great idea.
I'm going to record that, yes. All right, go ahead.
Okay. But no, Anjali, so going back to the time in the hospital, it seemed you were seriously ill, you said. And was that like a near-death experience? Because people have had those near-death experiences. They actually start to, when they come back, they are more expanded. Do you think that happened to you somehow?
Yes. I did not experience brain death. I would say that I just lingered on the edge for a very long time. 8 days. 8 days. I lingered before I decided if I was coming or going. Yeah. So
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No. You go ahead.
No. It just seems a lot of people in that situation, they have a shift of consciousness. And so what seems to me is like you opened because you were at that. I mean, you said that. So jumping on what Chrissy was getting at, I think, is that there is this border, there's the realm of the dead, and then there's this other frequency of ETs or some ETs that seems like we have the facility to tap into, and it seems like that happened to you.
Right. And what was interesting is that the frequency, as you put it, that I received both of the messages in the same way, from the dead and from the beings. And I haven't really gotten into this very much, but somebody did ask me online somewhere if I had continued to have interactions with the dead, or if they ever asked me to do things. And I have to say that I have continued it's not the parade that it was when I was in ICU, but I have had, I believe, for perhaps 5 people who came to me essentially wanting me to reach out to people that they knew when they were alive, and they wanted me to tell them things. And that's been a huge shift in my consciousness, something that's changed in my life since I was in ICU. All of this is very new.
Wow.
Very strange, very intense.
Well, it just seems like that part of your brain. It's like sometimes you find a new app on your computer and you say, "Oh, I didn't know my computer could do that."
Right. Something. It's very odd. Very odd. I don't understand it, but it all happens in the same way. I mean, it's any time that I have seen the spirit of someone who has passed and they've wanted me to do something. It's the same thing. I get an image and it has everything in it, and I have to just figure out how to get to it. How do I unlayer my own mind away from the message, essentially.
Well, then the ETs, whoever these beings are probably in communication with you all the time if you turn that on, right? Or is there times where they're not there and they are there? Because you're like a conduit, it seems like,
I get things all the time, Alan. Sometimes it's silly things. Somebody will say, "What time is it?" And I'll say 12:34, and it'll be 12:34. It'll just come to me, and I'll just say 12:34. It's just going to that first thing. What's the temperature? Oh, 63. It's 63. Very weird little things that don't mean anything and that don't matter. But it's like a live, ongoing connection, and it comes out in different ways. And it's been really interesting.
Well, do you think at some point these beings, and someone mentioned channeling, I don't know if that's something, would they want to speak through you? Are you close to that, or that's maybe down the line, or I don't know, maybe it's not. Do you get a feeling for that, where they want to, I don't know, merge with your consciousness to actually speak? Or is that too weird?
That's funny that you asked, because Max and I have talked about that a few times. First of all, it feels very close to channeling when they contact me, and I talk to anyone who is with me about what's happening. It feels very much like channeling, and there are times where I feel like there's this little itch that if I just scratch it, that something is going to blossom. And sometimes I'm more afraid of the blossom than other times. I know that sounds strange. I don't know how else to put it, but it's like there's something there. And if I explore it too long, if I look at it too long or think about it too long, it's like it's just going to blossom right in my brain. And I'm just not sure if I'm ready for this blossom.
I think you have to be ready because it's like a whole identity shift. I mean, I've known great channels, and it's like the ego mind is like surrendered in a sense, and this other thing comes through. But you let us know when you're ready to blossom, but and come back on and share the message.
Keep that in mind.
I just had another question or two, because and through your whole story, and you're talking about transcendence, it seems like that is actually the process that you're in. You are showing us this, being a defense intelligence officer and then being this other whole thing. Would you say that's an example of transcendence? Because it seems very abstract what you're saying about it.
Right. I guess I've never thought of it that way. I do see the transformation in my own life. I am I'm very different than I used to be. My interests are different. How I spend my time, earlier Roderick said something about something on being his currency, online, like a social media currency. And my energy is my currency in my time. And so I've been very careful with how I spend that, very deliberate. And that's something that's different. I was never a yes person. I was, but I was always moving and always, um, uh, God, I don't know how to explain it. I was analyzing everything constantly. And I didn't know how to be present. I worried constantly about what I said yesterday or what I said 5 minutes ago or what I did 10 years ago, for the love of Pete, and then I would worry about what's going to happen if what if the geneticist tells me this, how am I going to deal with that? Well, what if I don't, whatever, what if I don't remember the experience right? What if I don't have the right words tomorrow or tonight? I lived in this space, this head space, this mental brain space that was never right now. It was always later or yesterday. And so a huge transformation that has taken place for me has been my ability to not always be present, but to realize when my thinking and my behavior is being based off of something that isn't the present moment, when I'm listening to that monkey chatter in my mind of all the things that aren't going to work and all the things that people are saying or thinking, and then none of it's real. I mean, it's all made up. It's a complete illusion, and I'm just trapped in my own head. And
I totally know what you're saying. I think we all know what you're saying because we're all trapped in our own heads. But what is transcendence? Like, how would you describe? Because they're telling you it's time for this transcendence. Mm-hmm. How would you say each of us goes about that, or what's your vision of that possibility? How does it happen for each of us?
That's something that I explore every day. I think that I can just tell you what I've done, and some of it has been intuitive, and then some of it I have had to seek, extra help. I have sought help in meditation and in forming mantras that can bring me into a deeper meditative state. And for those of you who are curious about my favorite mantra, this is it at the moment. It is, I am pure awareness am I. I am pure awareness am I. Heal this body is healed. I am pure awareness am I. And that's the mantra that I turn to heal my body, my mind, my spirit when I meditate. So I think that there are probably 1,000 roads that will lead us to our destiny. And I can't be the one to tell you how to take yours. I can just tell you what road I'm on and what it looks like from where I'm standing.
Right. We all have to kind of drop into ourselves. Okay, I have 2 more questions, Roderick, and but I really appreciate your time. I think we all do, because it's not just what you're saying; it's sort of the aliveness that you're saying it, and the honesty that you're just revealing. So I appreciate that. I also want to know about you saying the communication beyond language. So is this abstraction? Because some of the other people have had contact are talk about less words, more abstract, more like quantum physics, where we don't collapse the wave function, but there's more of a superposition of possibilities where we're not so linear. Has it something to do with that? This non-language?
You lost me. You said a lot of things in there.
Okay, so we.
No, I mean, go ahead. Please.
Linear language is linear, and it's this words, and then there's abstract awareness, which is not linear. It kind of takes in everything, like abstract art, and quantum physics is not a concretizing of results, but it's living in the uncertainty of all things and the superposition of all things, and there's in a way no language for that. Is that, or is that more what they're talking about as far as our language, or did I lose you again?
No, you didn't lose me. Thank you. That was much clearer. There definitely isn't. I don't think of it in terms of linear. Linear isn't it? It's an A to B, right? It seems. And
yes, it's left brain A to B. We put everything in a little category, right, and that's what it is. And we forget this other part of our brain.
Right. And so in all of those linear ideas and thoughts that we have, that's where a lot of our humanness lies, because the transfer of information that they're giving it's so complete. I don't even think the abstraction is quite the right word. Maybe because, as I understand abstraction, I have a hard time wrapping around that word being what I'm experiencing is some kind of abstract awareness, because what it feels like is complete awareness. It feels like a complete understanding, which may sound silly when I say, well, I'm having trouble explaining this to you. But you know why, Alan? Because I'm not sending it to you like they sent it to me. I'm trying to I'm filtering it through this very broken brain of mine and trying to give it words in English out of this mouth. And that is not how I received any of it. And it was so complete and perfect. It was a perfect message in an imperfect messenger.
Well, maybe it's all perfect that you're the messenger that you're supposed to be. But I mean, I think it's all, I think somehow it is all perfect, because here you are enlightening lots of people to new possibilities. But one more question I have is that these 4 races that are coming or have come or on their way, could it be that the government is aware of this, and this is why this whole disclosure process is speeding up, because they know there's a sort of deadline where we have to welcome these things or not? I mean, it just seems there's something in the government. I know you're not connected that way, but there seems an acceleration and a disclosure amplification. Is that connected to these 4 races? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I mean, we could say from a logical standpoint that makes sense. Especially when we have things like Space Force being stood up and, a frenzy of disclosure. But you can also see, we were talking about this earlier, how there's been an acceleration, and there's kind of been a speeding up across the world of sightings. And more communities built, and we're more interconnected electronically than we've ever been before. And maybe that is leading us down a path where we will that maybe the way that we are connecting now will facilitate our path to conscious connection to each other. Because we're already starting it, right? We already know how many of you have cried because of something that happened to someone on the other side of the world that you have never even met, and you may not even know how to pronounce their name, but you heard their story, and it moved you in such a way that it changed you. I mean, we
Yes.
experience
Yeah.
these on almost a daily basis. And so there does appear to be an acceleration. I don't know what the governments of the world know and don't know. I would say there hasn't been a lot of wisdom that we have seen coming out of governments around the world, in the last few decades. I would sure hope that there are those who are in conscious contact, and hopefully they're in contact with the beings that I have had contact with. Then hopefully that conscious contact has led them to a place where they may be contemplating their own need to think about transcending.
Well, thank you. It does seem like this is like you're going to be. It seems like this is the beginning of your journey, and I'm really curious where it takes you. And I feel like there's going to be more forces gathering around you.
I think so. I'm excited to be here, telling my experience and helping just others to know this incredible and encouraging message. Really, I think it's very encouraging. It's changed my life. I am such a better human than I have ever been before.
Wow.
Well, thank you. Very exciting. Thanks for being here and being so honest and vulnerable. Roger.
Yes, this has just been a phenomenal night. Nick, I know you've been here, and man, I know you got a question because you're the man. So go ahead.
Thanks, Roderick. For everybody in the group, I'd like you to consider, what would soft disclosure look like? I think this is exactly what it would look like from the perspective of the outsiders looking into humanity. I think we've seen it before. I think we're seeing it now. And I would also like to, for those of you that are weighing the evidence, she is exactly who she says she is. This woman served at the highest echelons of the intelligence community, and by nature is a writer. That's part of being an analyst, an intelligence officer especially, is to be a good writer. So don't let that throw you, please. And if you have any doubt about who she is, look, I've confirmed every bit of it, and I'm willing to serve as the firewall to protect her anonymity and privacy for now. I think that in the future we might know more about her, but for now, and if you have any question about who I am, that's an easy one to answer. You can look me up, Nick Larkin, Gregory Nicholas Larkin. Now, I would like to ask, have you considered going back to the physical location, Anjali?
No, not once. Okay, so let me walk you briefly through the couple of hours after I arrived back in the house. Okay, so first of all, we started heading down to the tunnel. It was around 3:00 in the afternoon, and it was after 9 p.m. when I first got out my phone to contact my daughter after I had just returned. So 6 hours went by. I can't account for 6 hours, but it's been something. So after that, after I arrived back and I contacted my daughter, I was absolutely beside myself with like I don't know how to say, I was inconsolable. People were trying to have conversations around me, and I couldn't even keep up a conversation. Like I was in my head, just completely trying to replay everything that had happened, and all I wanted, everything like in my core, wanted to be back there. Like I wanted to be with them. I wanted to be with them so badly. It was the only thing in the world I wanted. And I never stepped one foot back or tried to go back. Nothing. I can't explain that. I went the next day after I saw Wayne and Trisha, because I had to go back and get my car. I had a friend come and pick me up at about 3:00 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. I'm walking around their house. I was like, somebody's got to come and get me. I couldn't drive myself home. I was that out of my ability to think my way through what was happening. Okay. So, a friend of mine had come and took me away from the house. The next day, when I went back to get my car, I spoke with them for a few minutes, and they, we all said, "Yeah, let's get together. Let's get together sometime. Let's talk about this. Let's do this again." And it never happened. I don't even think that it was supposed to happen. I mean, I went on Google Earth. I showed my spouse exactly where it is. I could literally get in my car and drive there right now. And yet, I have never even tried. I don't know how to explain that.
Is that from fear or?
No, it's like it's like I have just this understanding. Like, it's just like I know I'm not supposed to go back. Like, I never even tried. I'm like a lion in a cage, and yet I can go right out the front door and go right back. But I didn't. So the way that I have interpreted that all of this time is that if they had wanted me to go back to the tunnel, I would have gone back to the tunnel. So I think that it was just not necessary. I don't understand.
Right.
Wow.
It probably isn't. You said you had a meeting with them afterwards anyway, somewhere else, right?
No, I went the next day. I went back to get my vehicle from their home, but I did not meet with Wayne and Trisha anywhere else.
No, but the third meeting with the beings was with your daughter by a fire, you said? Was that after?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes, I'm sorry. But that was prior to going out to Wayne and Trisha's.
Oh, it was. Oh, okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So the last time you saw them was inside the mountain.
The last time that I saw those, I have not seen the gray. I have not seen the tall whites. I saw the lavender being a few times afterwards, and I have had contact with a different being recently, right before I wrote my post, that was really imploring me for a few days that it was time, that urgency was now. And I began talking very wholeheartedly about it and more pressingly about it with my spouse as we tried to think, is this really what we're going to do? Is this really what we're about to do? Yeah, I think we're going to have to do this. That's what, I don't know how else to explain it, Alan.
It's great. Wait, Nick, did you have anything else?
No, Alan, if I have any more time, I yield it to the gentleman from New Realities, which would be you.
No, I don't want to take up all your time, but it's so fascinating because, well, it's time for something. Maybe it's just time for Roderick's birthday. I don't know.
It is. And you guys said y'all was going to sing, but I'm not going to put y'all through that because I'm recording and it will last forever if you hit the wrong note. And I just don't know if y'all ready for that. But listen, here's what I want to say. Thanks to Alan and just everyone else. But guys, in the future, we're going to have, I hadn't set a date. We got to work the date out. I'll have Kathleen Martin here. You guys know who she is. She's the niece of Betty and Barney Hill. And she has a new book out, the 60th anniversary of the first documented alien abduction. And she says I was on the phone with her today, and she kind of have added some more to it. So that's going to be pretty good. But I am going to get 10 copies. I'm going to have them autographed. Well, it'll be 9. One is going to be to Roderick. But the rest of them, I'm going to have autographed. And then we get some books with Alan as well. And I'm going to be giving them away here to our listeners and maybe some of you who have the greatest story. So we're going to have a good night pretty soon. Although all of this is kind of like a emotional thing for a lot of us. but we're going to have a comedy night one night, and you're just going to tell your best, joke, but not about nobody's experience, but just about life and dealing with what we're dealing with, so we can have some humor. And I'm going to give out a book, and how it's going to work. You guys in the audience are going to raise your hand and say this one was the best, and whoever the most hands raised is going to get a free book autograph. So would y'all like that? Y'all think that'll work? Yeah? No?
Great.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, because I think we're gonna have fun here. They ain't all gonna be emotional where we, crying and just because this is traumatic, but at the same time it's a joyous moment that we're all coming together right here together for a new movement. Because as I've always said here with Extraterrestrial Evidence, and I tell everybody in my YouTube videos or whatever, I say the eyes are useless when the mind is blind. And then ultimately, I'm just saying it's time to believe. Because like X-Files says, I want to believe. Our tagline for this group is it's time to believe. Okay. And we'll share that out there. So with that being said, Anjali, I know you've been here for 3 hours and we have it recorded, and I'm going to place it up. But one of our traditions here is that we always like to allow our audience to have a hand, but we're not going to keep you up for that. I think some of the panel will stay here or whatever if they want.
But what's next for Anjali before she signs off? I'm just curious what she feels her next step is or move.
Sure. Tomorrow I am going to sleep, and then I'm going to continue to work on this outline for the written experience to be shared with everyone. And I suppose that if there are requests for interviews or questions or appearances, I don't know. I will take every day just one step at a time. So we'll see.
Oh, there's someone who wanted to know about your daughter's experience. Is she also transcending or changing her consciousness? Someone just texted me, asked that question.
I think that my daughter is one of the most absolutely remarkable people that I've ever met. If anyone's going to be transcending, it is definitely my girl, no doubt. But as far as me sharing her experience, I cannot. That's hers.
Oh no, I just was wondering how she was doing. Okay, yeah, great.
She's doing very well. She's wonderful. Thank you.
All right then.
This is a great night, Roderick. And Anjali and Nick and Chrissy and Tiffany.
Yeah, Marie. All of you are great.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we want you to get some sleep, and definitely I will call you tomorrow for
Roderick?
Sure. Huh?
Roderick, are you still here?
Oh, I'm here. Yes. Y'all ready? So basically, the cat got my tongue. I was like, wow, just quiet. But what we're going to do here is let you get some sleep.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And you and I will talk a little bit. Definitely, there are a few places I know that want to hear your story, and definitely I'll put some things together, and we will definitely spread the word as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Roger. Thank you.
Because, again, we not just believers, but we all are just here to understand what's going on with the higher force here, and I think this with the audience that we have and everyone else. And so, again, it's a tradition here that we allow our audience to participate in some Q&A with us in the panel, hopefully. Sure. We know it's late, but for you, you have done enough. So we will definitely take it from here, guys, and everybody knows this is recorded. So if you come up, let's get you off. So again, good night, and you and I will chat tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. Thank you.
Have a good night, Anjali. Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, so here's the deal. We are late, and we usually don't stay here as late as we do, but one of the things that I'm going to let everyone know that we are going to limit some of these questions down to 2 minutes for sure. If you have something you want to say, basically when your time is coming, when it's down to 100 and let's see, Dave, could you mute that out for a second?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you, buddy. And so what's going to happen here is this. Everybody pay attention. When you got 15 seconds left, you're going to hear this. Okay? And that's just my polite way of telling you got 15 seconds left. But if you go over, you're going to hear this. And we're going to shut you down so that we can move quickly, efficiently, and everything else. And you guys can share your thoughts, what you like best of what you heard tonight, if it affect you or any kind. Again, we got a lot of other people that's coming up. You know, I mentioned Kathleen Martin. There was a few other powerful people I spoke with today. I just can't really go into it. Alan is also making a lot of this thing happen too. And this is we're striving to be the best. And so with that being said, if you guys want to sing, which one of y'all want to sing happy birthday? You know, one of you, I'm sure.
Let's all sing. Everyone here who's a speaker, right? Should we sing happy birthday? Let's do it.
Okay? I'm ready.
Unmute yourself. Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Roderick. Happy birthday to you.
Now that was scary. All right, I enjoy it, but instead of hearing crickets, you guys get the applause today, okay? So anyway, I really appreciate it just being special, just to be a part, and you guys making it special. Last year at this exact time, I was speaking to no one on my birthday. No one to talk about what we're talking about now with UFOs. And, you know, because, again, we're going to talk about that relationship stuff Thursday, and we're going to hit home with that. So with that being said, Tiffany, you got the room reset. You know who's coming up. And once again, I'll just make it real quick, 2 minutes. And when you hear this, that means it's 15 seconds left. If you go too far, you hear this. She's going to have to activate her superpowers that she has to mute and move. And we're just trying to give everybody. And then some of you can stay up a little bit if no one else is coming up. So, Tiffany, you ready?
Ready.
All right. So, who do we have first? I think we got Dave. And Dave, that's my man, Dave. All right. So, well, you know, Dave, we got you. You got some time. So, let's go for it.
Okay, yeah. Well, actually, earlier I was going to chime in, but Nick asked the exact question I was really curious about, which is whether she ever returned to the tunnel. And I was surprised that she hadn't, or that no one in her family had forced her to bring them to the tunnel. That was what I was really curious. But it was a riveting story. But that's really, it's a very, very engaging and very believable. So there.
Wow.
How much time do I have left? I relinquish the rest of my time.
Oh, you're all right. Well, we're gonna leave you up, buddy. You know, we know that you can be a good highlight in what we're doing, and definitely, I would definitely want to get with you offline too. I got a couple of things for you to talk about, but if you hit me or Instagram and share me those numbers, and we'll go from there. But so anyway, hang around. I have next. Let's see. Is that Experience? That's my boy Experience, guys. He has the other room that they have some riveting conversations, some good stuff too. And I just really like I pop in there a lot, and just see some of their deep conversation at the Extra Paranormal Society. And so anyway, without further ado, Experience. Go ahead, buddy.
Hey, thanks, Roger. Happy birthday too.
Appreciate it.
Definitely was engaged throughout the whole story. I could tell it's not really easy to speak about these things openly if it's your first time. And if she says these things, according to her Reddit, would happen in 2017, it's still very fresh, I'm assuming, as well. So interesting to hear the journey. I would love to host her in a room as well with some of the other contactees that I've heard stories on the app for. So I'll reach out to you offline on that. But what I think I gathered most from what she was saying is that they had a pretty, they were directed towards communication, right? And how we need to kind of like up our communication, I think what they were hinting at was really telepathy. And if we think about it, and I was thinking about it as she was speaking on it, there is a language barrier that on this planet as humans, right? I can't just get dropped in the middle of Saudi Arabia or Iraq or Russia and China and be able to communicate properly without some kind of translation or translator or understanding or knowing the language. Telepathy seems the most effective way to be able for us to evolve as humans to communicate, because now we're giving pure thoughts, and in that way there's no barrier there. And I think with intention and there is a point in certain languages and the way there's nuanced cadences or just emphasis on certain words could be, it's hard to kind of sift through that. So that's what I kind of took away from that. And it's interesting. Me and my daughter were having a conversation about telepathy this past weekend as well. And we were going to all right, let's try some exercises on certain days and just to kind of see if we can do that, and if that's the path we're headed towards, a little guidance from them would be helpful if they think that's the first step. So that's what I got from the initially from what the messages they were trying to tell us that would help us evolve or move forward as a species is if we're all connected, we should all be able to translate or communicate with each other properly, and I think that's through mental telepathy.
Wow, that is deep, and again, that's just shows some of those conversations you guys be having and everything else. So I will again, if any of you want to follow anybody up here, if you haven't had an opportunity, please go ahead and do that. That is, I think, is one of the currencies here. Nobody makes money here, so we just enjoy what we do, but at least you can follow the speakers and everything else. So Christina, you up?
Hi, thank you. I really kind of focused in on don't concern yourself with human affairs. And I would just love a broader discussion or, examination of how we could do that, because I could tell as the obvious side of it, she was talking about how she's a writer and yet being told to not talk as much, and that's exactly how I felt when she was saying, don't concern yourself with human affairs. And on some level, it was very easy to digest, in that this notion of not worrying or being preoccupied with the past or the future and being present. I think that sounds very familiar to many of us, but I would just love kind of more examples of what constitutes, what encompasses human affairs, and more direction in terms of what we can do. I hope that makes sense.
Well, don't you think what concerns human affairs are things like gossip and drama and what this person thinks about me, and all those kind of petty emotions is what I got that she means. And then if we can transcend that, then we can start to open up to that connective consciousness. If we forget about our ego involvement and, our little dramas.
Yeah, that's my take. That's what I got out of it as well. Just kind of disconnecting yourself from, like the process of unlearning and disconnecting yourself with everything that you've been trained and programmed to understand, and kind of having a sense of understanding who you are and what reconnections you can make with yourself, so you can better align yourself with what your journey and your mission is supposed to be, and not allowing the coerciveness of society to influence that.
I also got something like that. It may be a mixture of that, where they were kind of telling her she worked in the Defense Intelligence Agency. So part of her job was to really be engulfed in human affairs across the world, right? Either providing intel or assisting the government in that sense. So maybe they were kind of saying, look, what you're doing at your day job is kind of holding you back, and focus on what your real purpose is. I don't know if anyone else got that, but that's what I kind of read into it.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
that.
All right. So, Christina, did we answer everything for you, or are you done? Or
If I'm really honest, I would say that I would still like a bigger discussion around it, because I think that those things definitely resonate. But when you get down to like certain details in life, I can understand how it can become confusing in terms of being told, don't look this way, look that way. And even if you're searching your heart and soul for direction and you have an idea, I still think that, we're still discussing our interpretations as opposed to what might be an even deeper understanding of what that message means.
right, I definitely understand you. Okay, so and then look, I'm gonna do a little shout out here to Dave and let him know I tried to Instagram him, but it's blank, and maybe he doesn't hear me, and nobody else is listening but me. So Dave, how?
I'm there.
Yeah.
I keep hitting the wrong microphone icon. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I know there's an Instagram that isn't me. You know what? Are you on Twitter?
I used to be, but since I got 1 year older, I got off. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, my email is rod@roderickmartin.com, so you can send me the information there.
Rod@roderickmartin.com. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll do that.
Yeah, just do that. Okay, so looks like I have my guy E.T. He's always have something good to say. So E.T., you're up.
Yeah, thank you. Happy birthday, Roderick, and we'll start with that.
Appreciate it.
And and I'm okay with it being recorded if that's the case. Anyway, I'm going to jump back to her post, and I would really like to discuss or know somewhere down the line what could be meant by remember who you are, remember why you are here. And those two sentences, are they aimed at her or are they aimed at the human race? And could it be misinterpreted somehow? Meant for her, but I don't know. Because that could be different things if it's said to her directly or to us all.
Don't you think I think it's for everyone. We're here to remember who we are, not to get caught up in the pettiness of the world, but the deeper essence of the soul. I mean, that's what I got from it. I mean, they're talking to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Breaking away from that Maya.
That's the first thing I thought as well, but could be nice to be a little bit more sure on that, I think. And
she'll be back.
Yeah, that'll be cool. And what could it mean? Because can't it be a little bit more clear? Because maybe it's clear to her, but remember who you are. What do you guys get out of that?
Well, if you start to meditate and you start to disconnect from the world, you realize there's so much more inside of us than we've been brainwashed, conditioned to believe. We're much more than just living, working, families. There's this whole deeper essence that's who we are. That's my feeling.
Yeah.
Someone else.
I think I understand what you're saying, and I can kind of get to that point too, but it's a bit unclear. And you could say, if that's what it's meant, you could say that you could say it other ways. And I understand this is not words she's getting, so it's hard. So have you seen the movie Lost in Translation? I just want to get your help on how sure we can be on what those sentences mean.
Now, isn't that like to reincarnation, right, Nick, or something like that? No?
Well, all in all, I don't think any of us really know, right? That's the thing. Like, it's all interpretation of how she sees it, how we perceive it.
then what we take from there. So I don't think there's one unified message of oneness, but I don't think that everyone's going to walk away with their own interpretation of what oneness is and what union looks like. So I think that we have to be mindful of that. So when you do to break things down, it's really hard to do that, and that is the problem of communicating.
I think,
yeah, definitely. And
the English language, when you say you, remember who you are. This is like case in point. But in English, you can be singular or plural. Other languages typically aren't like that. But I think that the message is you collectively. So if we all somehow got on board with it all at the same time and started living like, I'm not a religious person, so I don't know another way to articulate this, but started behaving and thinking in a Christ-like manner, forgiving of thy neighbor. If we all started doing that together, instead of, I don't know, how do you get there? Well, it would be like an evolutionary step, wouldn't it? But on an individual basis, I don't think the message is you single person, you need to do this. I think it's more of a communicate with each other so we can all be on the same page at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. It's just, even though you get to that point, it's not super clear. You can read in so much to it. That's the problem for me. The next sentence is more clear for me. Remember the oneness of our existence. That's pretty clear compared to the other ones, I think. And the last thing is they are coming and we must prepare. Reading that sounds pretty threatening, but the way she put it sounds. Maybe it's more like they're coming to, and it's a positive thing. Did we really get to what she? It was more positive than we all thought, right? But
she
do we know anything more?
She said she didn't know what they meant by coming. They are coming. We asked her that, and she said that she didn't know what that meant.
All right.
She does seem very positive, though. She seems very light and hopeful. That's what I got.
Yeah, and I think that what she was saying on her end, she felt that there was, she felt very peaceful with them and by them. So I would say that for her, it was very positive. That's why I brought up the Allies of Humanity, that other book, because that message in that book is the exact similar message that she is saying. But they are saying that what is coming is not good. And so that's why I asked her that question of what she thought about other people having contactees, because we have to be mindful. And I don't know if she's telling the truth or not, and what is real and what isn't in this story. But we have to be mindful that there's tons of contactee messages all the time that say different things. And sometimes they're positive and sometimes they're negative. And we've got to look at both of them and analyze through that, because the one that I'm saying on the other side is not. I hope it's positive like everyone else. But we do have to be mindful that there are messages like this spread in all different cases and all different stories that are told that are good and bad. So,
well, I get that she's telling the truth, that she knows the truth from her perception. I mean,
well, she's definitely telling the experience she's had with those entities. And but I mean, as Chris was saying, I mean, there's definitely like David Jacobs' books and and the work he did with Bud Hopkins. They had a lot of stories of people saying that there's a change is coming, and that you have a job to do. But as it turns out, almost all of the people who have a job to do, according to David Jacobs, is basically their job is crowd control, and it's less encouraging.
Jacob's a very paranoid guy, nice guy, but I think he's full of a lot of fear. So I get that he projects that.
Yeah, I hope he does. But I'm saying that even what Chris was saying, the coming of the four sounds less encouraging than the entities that she's had direct contact with, and I'm hoping that if this occurs, that is the way it goes with those entities that she's been in contact with.
What was that author's name again?
David Jacobs.
He wrote a book called The Threat and a few others.
And he was a partner with Bud Hopkins for many years, doing research on.
Bud wasn't that negative, but Dave Jacobs was talking to a lot of more fearful abductees, and there was a little difference. And John Mack, had a whole positive approach to the similar population. So
yeah,
I think the therapist takes their own agendas and subconscious and brings that part out in people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
And Summers says that, in the book that he talks about Allies in Humanity, says that he's stating that when they're coming, that the allies that are obviously supposed to be on our end and supporting us and saying not to look at the what she's saying, the people that are coming, and that we should not be listening to them because they're looking to pillage our planet pretty much. And that we shouldn't worship them because that's what they would want. We also have to be mindful that she uses words, a lot of biblical words. And I love anything to do with spirituality. I'm very much on both sides of science and spirituality. I look at both of them. But I get very worried when people use the word transcending, because it's a scary word.
What is scary about transcending?
Alan, hold on, you're getting defensive.
No, I'm not. Just curious.
The word transcending can be scary because it can mean many different things in biblical formats. And people can take those things and blow it way out of proportion of what transcending means. You can't use the word transcending because nobody knows how to transcend. No one does. People can say they do, but they do not. We don't know. And so when you say transcending, it will cause more division because people will say, well, I'm transcending better than you are, or we are doing this and I am doing that. So I'm very mindful of the word of transcending because it's a scary word when it's attached to biblical and other things. So it's not that I don't believe her, and I think it's a wonderful story, and I think she's a positive message, but I'm mindful of the words that she uses and how she's putting it forward, because there's a lot of things that are connected to biblical references that scare me. That's it. It's not that I don't believe in anything biblical, not that I don't. I just a little bit worried of using those words because they can be perceived so wrong. And as a writer, she knows that too, I believe.
Well, it didn't seem biblical the way she was using it. Transcendence and the whole transcendental movement and the transcendental poets, they were about the activation of spirit. That's what I got.
There's a lot of things of something coming and transcending, and it's the whole thing of of God coming, as first Nick and I were talking about this, the 4 horsemen, there's a lot of biblical references that are attached to it, and rightfully so. Maybe there's a reason for it, right? For sure, it can be transcendental meditation. It can mean many different things. It's just transcending is a very, very touchy word, I think, on how you use it. I wouldn't use the word if I was her as a publicist and a PR person, would never recommend using that word transcending. I would find another word to describe it.
Okay, guys. What
you got that from them? I think.
Yeah. Here's what I want to do to respect our other 2, 3. We have Jody, Jeremiah, and is it Katrina? We're going to rapid fire you 3, so you guys can say what you have to say, and that way you can still stay up and we can engage this conversation. Or what we might do after you guys, since you guys don't have to go to bed. You really don't. But you may not stay here because we might close the room tonight and go to bed. I don't know. And some of y'all can stay here and talk all night, and that'll be good because I really enjoy everybody's viewpoint. So, Jody, let's start with you. If you can rapid fire, if you want to say anything, then we'll move on to Jeremiah, but don't go anywhere. And then Katrina, that way you 3 get your word in, and then that way we can kind of go from there. Okay.
Hi. Okay. So I'll rapid fire happy birthday at you. Happy birthday. And I wanted to address really quick ET's and everybody's conversation that we just had right now. And I think that is evidence of what she was talking about as with telepathy and what our words do to obstruct us. So my semantics are going to mean something different to somebody else's semantics. And for ET, when you're listening to that message, how you would experience that message would be one of the main points of her message was that their message was that we are all one. So if we are talking about all one, the you is also about all of us being one. And the transcendence, yes, I agree that's a scary word. However, with her vernacular, I think just as she is also trying to work her way through being a medium for those who have passed and those spirits who have gone on, she has to find ways to interpret it. Just like if I don't know if you've all had experience with people that have passed or spirits, but when they do send pictures and telepathy, which I am aware of, it is exactly as she described. It is in pictures, in feelings, all at once, and in her words as a official, metadata. And with that metadata, you as a person through your human experience only have the words that you have experienced or learned to interpret through. So those are the words and those are the things that block us as humans to transcend, or is what she's talking about, to get to that next level of communication. So ET, when you were talking about that, if you, instead of listening to the words, but somebody's feeling or energy as they're speaking, a lot of times you can see the pictures in their head. And that's something we can all practice on and work on. You can work on it through a meditation. I don't know if any of you have experience with animal whisperers or people who are able to communicate with animals. They also use telepathy and pictures. So anyway, that was that. And then my question is, actually, I want to go back to Nick, because I sort of missed, in the beginning, it was a little blurry. So your connection to Anjali, and was your experience part of her? Like, how did you guys connect with your experience?
Yeah, so my UFO experience was very nuts and bolts. As a child, I had one that I don't like to talk about that much because I was so young, but it stuck with me my whole life. Up close, something that felt like it was interrogating me, or at least checking me out in a knowledge gaining kind of way. But then fast forward till 2004, it was just like this machine that should not exist flew right by me. So that inspired me to, starting in 2004, dig deep into everything I get my hands on. And part of that is I'm on Reddit a lot, reading, not frequently contributing. And I read her account, and I wrote to her directly. Her account included the assertion that she was a retired defense intelligence officer, and I figured, hey, we both have this in common. I wanted to know if she was, a stolen valor, for one thing, because that would really piss me off. So I wrote to her and explained, hey, here's my background. Would you be willing to talk? And basically that turned into, I don't want to be in the news. This is what she was saying. I don't want to be in the news. I would like my identity to be protected. So if you can facilitate my participation in a discussion on this app, which she had never heard of, Clubhouse, I would like for you to be the one to serve as like a firewall between me and the rest of the world to protect my identity. So I'm here just serving her and this community here to verify that she is who she says that she is. I don't care if everybody knows who I am. I'm not trying to be famous or public or a pillar of the UFO community. In fact, the whole concept of a UFO community really pisses me off, because it's more like, duh, look around you. Are you even paying attention, community? But that's the extent of my involvement. So we've spent some time talking offline, me, her, and Roderick, and me and her. She gave me all kinds of details to confirm that she is who she says she is, and I also went through my own channels, and everything checks out beyond a reasonable doubt. She is. She briefed the White House, the upper echelons, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That is such a big deal. I can't even begin to tell you how big a deal that is for her to be coming out with this, having been an intelligence officer at the White House, guys. I didn't ask her what president, but it was the office of the president that she's briefed. And I confirmed that. I talked to her higher in the chain of command. I talked to them today, in fact, two of them. And it's true. That's why I'm like, my jaw has just dropped through this entire thing. because not only does she sound genuine, and what kind of like the details you could tell, like how like when somebody's telling you a story, you can tell by where they look whether they're actually like visualizing what they're saying. That's a common way to lie detection method is to watch people's micro expressions. I can almost like feel those micro expressions through the phone or through the audio. You can tell she's really trying to recount something that she's been through in detail. So that intrigued me. I picked up on that in the writing as well, which is my first exposure to her, and then I brought it to the group. That was how our experiences overlapped.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for bringing her. And also, I just wanted to know, in case I'm not here next time, I mean, who knows where we are in the ether of Clubhouse or being pinged or making food for our kids or whatever we're doing. But I was the one who texted Alan. I was really curious too. I wanted to know, because Nick, and maybe you've talked to her about it, and I know she said her daughter's is her own experience, but I think her daughter is an adult now. She said she just has a teenage son and 2 other children. But what is her daughter? Sorry?
Her daughter's 25 years old.
Okay. So is her daughter at some point will she also come forward at some point with her mother with the experience? Because I think in those cases, it's especially interesting when you've got 2 family members or 2 or 3 that have experienced it, to hear from 2 of them who have experienced these same beings. It gives a lot of credence to an experience as well.
Yeah,
I totally agree, and we can pass that along.
Yeah, we'll pass that along, and I'm going to chime in a little bit. And, that's their family. But anyway, hopefully, it's already tough enough in what she's going to go through for coming forward. So I'm sure she will be a protected parent and make sure that the kids just don't get subject to things. But anyway, let me move on to Jeremiah, because Jody, I did let you go a little longer, which is okay because you got some good things. But I want to go ahead and get the other 2 because they deserve to be heard, and then we'll go from there. So Jeremiah, you up, buddy?
Roderick, just wanted to say thank you for putting on an amazing piece of content tonight. It's definitely historic in your community. We were talking about it in our club, so I've got bits and pieces, but I had to get over to Bigfoot Society, but we were talking about it over there. My favorite part was definitely how she kept bringing up, like, she was in the room and she saw the lady from the 50s, and then she saw the lady against the wall right before the lady passed, and it's just a reminder, like, if we open our eyes, what are we going to see? And that applies to all different parts of the paranormal or cryptozoology. So, like, you're doing awesome work. Keep it up, dude. I was pumped from tonight.
Hey, I appreciate it. And it's not just me. It's everybody you see up here that contribute to things have contributed to the listeners, their experience, and together is just how we do it. And I think it's just wonderful. I'm just pleased and I just feel privileged to be able to serve you guys in this capacity and just being a conduit. And although I haven't had those experiences, but I have seen a UFO, but I think just hearing this just tells me just what our tagline is: time to believe. So we're going to go to, sure. Is that Katarina, right?
Katarina, thank you.
Okay, well, I
just wanted to thank everybody for coming. And tonight, she mentioned at one point how our actions were affecting a space that was here but not here. And I just want to bring up this text called the Book of Knowledge, the Keys of Enoch. The book discusses how space is sort of like a quanta deck, and there are other beings that are existing in our same space next to us. And it talks about electromagnetic changes coming to the planet and how there are languages on the planet now that are all pictographic, and they're remnants of the original light language. And that communication, I guess, used to be the pictographic light language that's like when you see an image. It doesn't have to do with, so it conveys, it just described what she was talking about, like it conveys information in an image. And it basically says that in preparation for these electromagnetic changes that are coming upon the planet, Enoch gave this information to J.J. Hurtak, which he put in this text. And I'm telling you, the text it really is the Book of Knowledge. It's called the Book of Knowledge, the Keys of Enoch. It's available at keysofenoch.org. And it has a glossary at the back so that if you don't understand certain terms, you can go to the back of the book and read what they say. But it's so relative to so many things that she said. And so I just wanted to chime in and let all y'all know about what the book was in case you want to check it out. It really has answered so many of my questions, even though I have more questions, but it's amazing. And it addresses everything in a very, very positive way, not in a fearful way. It's just basically saying changes are coming up on the planet, and depending on your level of progression, your level of understanding, and your level of preparation, you will go to the place designed for you. So it's okay. It's okay. Not everybody has to be at the same place or level or whatever you want to call it. Everybody is vibrating at a certain frequency, and it's saying get ready, because when the electromagnetic spectrum is widened, you are going to see all of the other life forms that share your space. And so they're sort of slowly like saying get used to this idea that there are other life forms, and there are worlds without number, worlds without end. It's just so exciting.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
No, I was just saying I could get JJ to talk at this Clubhouse sometimes, because he wrote a chapter in that book, and I think he'd be happy to be on this Clubhouse one day.
Yes,
Soon.
that would be awesome.
It's all about multidimensionality. That's what you're saying, and it's true. We are multidimensional beings. I mean, that is what Anjali, I think, was hinting at.
Yes.
All right. So here we go. I would be bad if I didn't try to offer everyone a good night's rest, because I know how these rooms can stay open and talk, but, I just want to leave it all on a good note, leave it all on a good energy level, because all of you guys have contributed, to some great things. And so basically, we'll probably, if we're all in agreement, get ready to shut this down. And then I think at the end of the day, I want everybody who know that Thursday, we're going to be really touching a good subject when it comes down to in your home, when it comes down to your friends or your loved ones, or just somebody out there that you want to tell, you want to talk to, but you just know that they're not going to believe you, or it's separation in the house when we already got enough problems. And like I said, I've dealt with that, just couldn't turn on the TV and watch Ancient Aliens until my wife went to sleep with earplugs, because I just couldn't do it. And that's not just, I'm a grown man, but at the same time, it's you just want to have these conversations and look at what's happening today. And I couldn't tell her about the future or what's going on. So again, I know a lot of you deal with that. So I would like to just say good night. It's been a plum, pleasing, and pleasure, as well as a privilege serving everyone. Nick, Marie, Tiffany, Chrissy, Alan, Experience, E.T., Jody, all of you guys, everybody. And to save words for tomorrow so we can have something else to say, I'm going to end this room tonight. Is that okay? And so...
Thanks, Rod.
Appreciate
it.
Thanks, Roderick. Right. Thanks,
Thank
Nick,
you.
everybody.
Happy birthday officially.
And this is, thank you. And this is going to go up on the podcast tomorrow. It's 3.5 hours. So if you got somebody, you let them know we got some good stuff. And so all of this has been recorded, and I'll put it up tomorrow. All right.
Which podcast? Where can we find the podcast?
It's Extraterrestrial Evidence, same as this room. It'll be on Shopify. Our last Clubhouse is already up as well, but it'll be on Extraterrestrial Evidence. And actually, your interview is up as well. Okay, Alan. So
thank you.
Yeah. So we will do that as well. So thank you guys, and just see you next Thursday, and then we'll go from there. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, all.